completely backed up going into Canada. Obviously, they're not going anywhere right now. We also see a law enforcement vehicle, the lights flashing right there, but a backup obviously for the Peace Bridge right now. We're going to go back inside of our newsroom because my colleague Heather Lee is tracking more information. Heather, what do we know now?
Hi there, Claudine. We know that there are multiple police agencies that are involved in this investigation. Homeland Security, obviously. We know that the FBI and the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, they are on top of this as well. Governor Kathy Hochul has ordered the New York State Police to assist in the investigation in any capacity. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, obviously that is their property where this crash and where this explosion happened. So they're a part of this as well. We've seen Niagara Falls Police directing traffic and trying to keep people away from that scene. I want to recap what we've learned from our partners at NBC News, their investigative team. This is coming from reporter Tom Winter and Jonathan Dienst. They are saying that they spoke to 4 senior law enforcement officials. They have been briefed on this matter. Again, talking about this vehicle that crashed into this checkpoint structure. All of this happening, again, at the Rainbow Bridge checkpoint right after 11:30 this morning. They say that that vehicle was traveling at a very high rate of speed. It hit the structure, caught fire, and then there was that explosion. Apparently, there was an initial search that did not find any sort of secondary explosives or any devices, meaning that there's no indication of any sort of bomb in that vehicle. Again, NBC News confirming 2 casualties involving the occupants of that vehicle. And authorities right now trying to determine whether or not this was intentional, and if so, what perhaps the motive may be. We heard from a witness, Claudine, a short time ago who spoke to our Ron Plants and our Franco Ardito, who was telling us that he and his wife, they were walking down Niagara Street when they saw a car go by, again, at a very, very high rate of speed. He said that it was upwards of 90, perhaps 100 miles an hour if he had to give any sort of estimate. Said that that car traveled right past them. The next thing he knew, he heard a loud boom. He said shortly thereafter, there was another loud boom coming from that explosion. He described those flames as being 20 to 30 feet high. And again, we saw a lot of those photos, the smoke rising from the debris, and it's really hard to tell that was ever a vehicle. I mean, the pieces of this vehicle were scattered all about. There is no when you take a look at it, it doesn't look by any means, doesn't look like a vehicle. So that goes to show you just how bad the damage was, how impactful that explosion was. And you can imagine the damage to that particular structure. We heard of one other person with minor injuries. Very surprising that there weren't other more serious injuries when you look at the debris field and you see the flames and you see the smoke rising from that scene.
Heather, thank you very much for that. And as we mentioned, this is breaking news. It's very fluid. My colleague Scott Levin just joining us now. Scott, just to recap everything that's been taking place today, quite a day. NBC confirming that 2 people are dead as a result of an explosion on the Rainbow Bridge. They're also saying that at least 1 member of law enforcement was injured in this. What we don't know is who they are, why this happened. Was it accidental? Was it intentional? We also know that Governor Kathy Hochul has been informed, obviously, and as a result of that is on top of this. The Joint Terrorism Task Force is involved as well. We heard from Canadian officials as well today talking about this incident. Right now, it seems like everybody's investigating, trying to get to the bottom of what happened. And in a situation like this, when it's so fluid, you really have to see what's happening. And now we're talking about not just on the Canadian side, but the U.S. side. So this is an international situation that has to be solved. It
really is. It's an international situation. This happened about 11:30 this morning. All hands are on deck right now there at the Rainbow Bridge. You have, Heather Lee reported, the state police. You have the FBI involved now. You have ATF, their national response team is there in case there are any more types of firearms or anything like that involved in that vehicle. We don't know what type of vehicle exactly it was yet. It's believed it was a sedan. Okay, so it wasn't a big box truck or any type of a U-Haul or anything like that that was filled with explosives. So it was primarily a smaller vehicle that we know right now. Like we said, the FBI, the head of the FBI spoke earlier, I believe it was this week or late last week. He warned Congress to be on alert for any of these types of terrorist attacks possible. There had been some chatter about them. And then, of course, We heard late yesterday and today from the governor to be vigilant and to be aware here in New York State. And lo and behold, here we have this incident where two occupants of that vehicle going at that high rate of speed going into the Rainbow Bridge blows up. There were some reports that are supposedly erroneous right now, that it may have been an electric vehicle that caught on fire.
Yeah, we have no confirmation on
No
that.
confirmation of that. That is not believed. Lauren Fix, a car expert, the car coach, says that that is probably 100% not an electric vehicle thing, that it was an explosion. So what did you say? I'm sorry, Judy, we have a statement.
We do have a
whom?
statement from.
We have a statement from the governor here. I'll read it for you. The governor says, I have been briefed on the situation that occurred at the Rainbow Bridge today in Buffalo. At my direction, the New York State Police is actively now working with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force to monitor all points of entry here to New York, end quote. I am traveling to Buffalo to meet with law enforcement and emergency responders and will update New Yorkers when more information becomes available, end quote. We also know that all of the bridges right now are closed. So that poses another issue for people that are traveling for the holidays. Of course, it's our Thanksgiving. It is not the Canadian
Correct.
Thanksgiving, but people do go on both sides of the border back and forth. And like you reported, the airport, they have mentioned that they are still open, but you are going to be checked. And I know, Claudine, you can talk about this. Oh, we're going to go to Ron Plants.
Yeah, Ron Plants
Let's
is
go to
in
Ron
Niagara
right now.
Falls, and he's obviously seeing some activity. Ron, what are you seeing happening now?
Ron, can you hear
Law
us?
enforcement personnel have been converging on the scene here. This is actually, we just see some additional personnel. We don't know exactly who they are, but police and perhaps other agents. We have seen a number of unmarked vehicles with flashing lights, emergency lights, converging on the scene here as well. We can only think that they are probably Homeland Security investigators from the various agencies. As we pointed out a while ago, we did see that big blue and white truck from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Unit of the federal government coming on scene with those specialized investigators. They are the ones who, indeed, if there was any kind of an explosive situation here with a bomb, they would be the ones that would be able to detect it and try to get more evidence on it. But however, again, I want to stress this, that my colleague Heather Lee was reporting that they had not apparently found any evidence of any explosive material with that vehicle that exploded and caught on fire after that impact at that fence right there near the bridge inspectors' booths for the Rainbow Bridge here. So, but again, obviously, they bring in everybody to handle these investigations with these specialized personnel who have all that training. They can even look for trace amounts on materials that they find to perhaps even be able to trace where the explosive came from. That's how good they are. I believe they call them tags that they look for to try to determine if they can determine a source of any material. But I want to say again, they apparently have not found anything from what we are being told that would indicate explosive materials on scene here. Again, I heard Heather Lee referring to that witness. I don't know if we're able to get any of the sound from that witness up again for us. This was a gentleman who was visiting here from, are we able to get some sound up from that gentleman, the eyewitness account of what he witnessed? It was pretty dramatic if we're able to do that. All right, I'll just set the scene real quick. This is a gentleman visiting from Canada who actually was here with his wife visiting from Kitchener, Ontario, I believe he said, and he gave us his eyewitness account of this vehicle swerving down Niagara Street on this side of the bridge and then going right in towards that fence. So here's what he had to say.
The car was coming flying back here, like over 100 miles an hour. We could hardly even see him. He was going that quick. There was a car in front of him. He swerved around it, and then it looked like he hit the fence, and this fire started. And then all of a sudden he went up in the air, and then it was a ball of fire like 30, 40 feet high. I've never seen anything like it. It was really incredible.
That gentleman indicated to us, too, that there were just pieces of the car left after that explosion. I know there are some images that are kind of floating around on social media right now. I don't know what we've been able to confirm, but again, there are images that show that also in the vicinity of one of those inspection booths here on the Rainbow Bridge. I'm also being told at this point that President Biden has been briefed on this situation, as you might expect. Also, of course, Governor Hochul has been briefed, and we're being told that Governor Hochul will be coming to Western New York. We do not know specifically if she's going to be here at the scene or where exactly. Hopefully, at that point, we will get more of a definitive word on exactly what happened here, other than that initial statement from the FBI Buffalo office that there was an explosion with a vehicle here at the Rainbow Bridge, and that it was, quote, as they were putting it, I'll use those words again, a very fluid situation, and that things could change. So I'll send it back to Scott and Claudine in the studio. At this point, we'll let you know if we see anything else happening here. Back to you.
Ron, quick question before you go. There have been some questions as to whether or not the vehicle was leaving the United States or coming into the United States. Do you have any confirmation on that?
All I can say, Scott, is when we talked to that eyewitness on the scene, the gentleman who was visiting here from Canada, who you just heard from in that soundbite, he had indicated that the vehicle was traveling here on Niagara Street on the U.S. side, approaching the bridge. There appears to be quite a bit of confusion about this point, about which side of the bridge this was on. But again, you can see it's blocked off right there, all the personnel coming in. And that gentleman who spoke to us and seemed to have a very credible report of what he and his wife took in, they were shocked and startled, obviously. They said the vehicle was traveling on Niagara Street here, approaching the bridge at that very high rate of speed, and it was swerving and what have you. They did not see any police vehicles in pursuit. They just saw that vehicle. They could not see who was in the vehicle. They just saw the vehicle then approach that fence, and you heard in that soundbite, it went up part of the fence, and all of a sudden it exploded, and that was a massive explosion, the flames shooting up into the sky, as you heard him say. So, Scott, that's the only point that we are aware of. We're waiting for anybody else here in terms of federal authorities to discuss exactly which side of the bridge this was on.
And it really is something too, Ron. Thank you so much for that report. One of the things we're also hearing, I've heard from just about 2 people so far who went across the border to pick up someone to bring them back for the holidays, and they are not able to come back across, at least at this particular time. Right now, we're taking a live look at the the Peace Bridge right now. As you can see, major backup. Especially the trucks. The trucks were at this particular time. No one's going across at this particular time. This is of the Peace Bridge. Again, this is all the result of what happened this morning, late this morning, a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge. And as we heard Ron say, we don't know if the car was on this side going or the other side. We're still waiting to get all of those details. It's going to be important to hear from officials today.
Yeah, and that's just it. There's a lot that we still don't know. There is a lot that we do know. Okay, we're going to listen to some Canadian sound right now. Let's go to that.
Border Services Agency. The Prime Minister and I will receive further information in the coming moments. This is obviously a very serious situation. The Government of Canada is taking this situation extremely seriously. We are in close contact with American authorities. We don't want to speculate on precisely that sort of detail. This is an evolving situation coming into Canadian authorities from their American parts, literally minute by minute.
So there you have it. That is a press conference coming out of Canada right now, and they are still trying to learn more, and we are gaining facts in here by the moment. We do know that Buffalo City Hall has closed early. That's in an abundance of caution. A lot of people are on edge right now.
Yeah.
We want to just, try and calm people. This is what we know. It's an isolated incident right now, and hopefully we don't have any more on this holiday week.
And we just want people to remain calm at this time.
Right.
We know that the authorities are working on it. We've heard from Governor Kathy Hochul in a statement. We've also heard from the Jewish community as well. And we've also heard from, this is a statement, our partners in law enforcement have recommended that we close our buildings through the Thanksgiving holiday. That is from our friends at the Jewish Community Center. This is a statement that they released. And now to hear that even President Biden is aware of what's happening. So we can expect to hear more about this from not only state officials, Canadian officials, but also from the White House as well. So this is an international situation that we're dealing with right here in Buffalo, and we're going to stay on top of it until we get answers and can bring that to you. But for now, people do need to remain calm. If you are planning to go across the border, this is not the day.
I would avoid
it's probably not going to happen. So, and if you are across the border and you're trying to get back, I do know at least one person who texts me, they are stuck across the border. They cannot get back. And then if you're flying, the Buffalo airport is open. So you are able to fly out if you need to do that. But when you get to the airport, we always talk about, you know, get there early, and in Buffalo, you can get there kind of quick. And that may not be the case today, because once you drive up to the airport, if you're dropping somebody off, once you get to departure and arrival, you will be stopped by NFTA police. Your car, they will tell you, I witnessed this firsthand, they will tell you, turn your car off, and then the dogs will then search or go around your car, sniff your car, and then once everything is, you're in the clear, then you can move forward. But we also heard from Kelly Khatib, also from the NFTA. One of the things she was saying is that once you are inside of the airport, TSA is going to step up that security check as well. So be prepared for things to be a little bit slower. Be patient with everybody, because right now we're dealing with the situation. It's kind of the unknown. We don't know why this happened, what happened, but we know it happened, and we know that 2 people are dead.
That's right. And once again, this is a live picture. This is the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge right now. A live picture. You can see there is some debris scattered there. Everything has been taped off after the explosion of this vehicle. Once again, the 2 occupants have died inside. Apparently, we have eyewitness reports that there was a vehicle speeding at a high rate of speed, some say up to 90 miles an hour, and apparently there's not a whole lot left of the vehicle. So they have said that the 2 occupants of the vehicle are dead after that attempted terror attack at the Rainbow Bridge. One law enforcement officer, we're told, also has suffered injuries at the scene. And once again, the FBI immediately called in Homeland Security. The ATF National Response Team is there, their bomb squad, they're on the scene. They have not found any other explosive devices at this moment as we speak at 3:12 in the afternoon.
And the thing is, this is a holiday weekend, so people are traveling. We know that people are going across the border to either visit family. We know people are coming from Canada to come across. Many people are ready. This is the shopping time. People are here to shop as well. Another live look at traffic going in. If you want to take the Peace Bridge, as you can see, it's blocked off. That is not happening today. Again, this is all a result of that vehicle explosion reported at the Rainbow Bridge.
And sometimes you do have a domino effect. You know, this is a very busy time of year, as you mentioned. There is a storm on the East Coast, and you have this terror attack here. These planes are going to be late. A lot of these planes end up having connections in other bigger cities. They will be late, so you could see more and more stepped up security at other airports as well. So this could turn into a much longer day than most people had thought. And unfortunately, we're having to deal with this at the holiday times. And this is also in downtown Buffalo, just maybe 20 miles away from where this happened, is a very, very busy night for the youth, the younger folks that come down to Buffalo. So who knows what's going to happen with that situation, but you have large groups of individuals coming to downtown Buffalo, always on the night before Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. This is a live look over Buffalo, as you can see it right here. But what we can tell you is that when people are coming into Buffalo, you know, sometimes the holiday weekend, it's Wednesday, it's the day before Thanksgiving. People want to run to City Hall to do that last minute business. That's not happening right now. We've learned that City Hall in Buffalo has been closed. We're still waiting to get more information about what's happening with government in the city of Niagara Falls. But what we do know that Buffalo City Hall is closed, and we should have a statement coming soon from Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown. Also to see how their law enforcement, how police are going to be handling situations, because when we took that live picture of the Peace Bridge, we know that City Hall is here, and just a couple of miles away
Yeah, not
is
far.
that entrance to the Peace Bridge off of the 190. So therefore, it's going to be stepped up patrol, and I'm sure measures for Buffalo Police as well.
And just so that you know, of course, this is very fluid. Our team in the newsroom is working hard to get a lot of interviews and different things over the next few hours. We're going to be here all evening for you. We're going to be covering this. There's never a convenient time for something like this. This is a horrible thing that's happened in our community. Once again, the head of the FBI was in front of Congress just less than 7 days ago saying that there were possibilities of terrorism here in the United States. And then yesterday we had Governor Kathy Hochul mention specifically here in New York State, whether it was New York City or the second largest city in New York State being Buffalo. It has happened here. And we're having to deal with this aftermath, and it is a very tragic situation, and it does pose a lot of terror for people, which is what terrorists want to do. So we just want everyone to remain calm. Let's just listen to the facts as they come in over the next few hours.
Right, and we just have to be, just as authorities want us to be on alert, we all have to be on alert, and we have to be cautious right now. So these measures that are taking place right now to close down certain governmental buildings is for a reason. We don't know all the details yet. We're still waiting to get all of that information. But what we can tell you is when you start hearing about City Hall being closed down, bridges being shut down because of what happened, all other bridge crossings, no one being able to come across the border, this tells you at this particular time, this is serious. The White House, President Biden has been informed, he's aware, and we're also hearing from Governor Kathy Hochul.
And lots of mainstream news organizations are reporting that they may be searching for a second vehicle. Channel 2 has not independently confirmed that, but there are some major media companies out there saying that. They are reporting that. Right now we have our Nate Benson. He is in our newsroom right now, and he's been working this story over the last few hours. And Nate, what have you learned? What's the latest?
Yeah, hey there, Scott and Claudine. Let's kind of go through what we've been able to confirm. A lot of this is coming from NBC as well as our independent sourcing as well. Senior officials basically telling us that a vehicle crashed into that checkpoint structure at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls. We don't know at this time whether that was inbound or outbound into the United States. We're working on trying to get those details as well. It was at a very high rate of speed from what we are told. It hit the structure, then caught on fire and exploded. An initial search of the scene did not find any secondary explosive devices at that scene. Again, investigators are on scene right now combing through that debris and obviously getting as much information from that scene as they can. Right now, there are 2 casualties involving the occupants of that vehicle. I would imagine, of course, that they are trying to get any DNA as part of this investigation as well. Obviously, from the pictures we've seen and some of the video as well, there's a wide scattered area of debris from this explosion. Authorities are trying to determine whether or not the incident was intentional or not, and what the potential motive was. Now, Scott, as you said earlier, Governor Kathy Hochul has been briefed. She is en route to Niagara Falls and in Western New York to get further briefings from the various agencies involved in this situation. So again, very fluid situation, a lot of information coming to us very quickly, and we are working to get as much of it confirmed as quickly as possible, as well as accurately as possible. Scott and Claudine.
All right, Nate, thank you very much for that report from our newsroom. Once again, 2 people killed so far as a result of a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge. That happened about 11:30 this morning. As we know, things are still very fluid.
Yeah, they sure are. And we did hear from Mayor Byron Brown. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Law enforcement is actively engaged together, looking into this circumstance at the Rainbow Bridge. We have the Buffalo Police, the Erie County Sheriff's Department, state law enforcement agencies, and federal law enforcement agencies all working together to try to determine the cause of the explosion at the Rainbow Bridge.
All right, you've just been hearing from Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown. Again, City
them
Hall
on the
has been
sidewalk?
closed. We're going to go live right now to our Ron Plants. He is in Niagara Falls. Ron?
Yeah, Claudine, as we've been telling you, law enforcement personnel have been converging on this scene constantly throughout the afternoon. There, as you may see, there are some other personnel walking down the sidewalk towards the scene of the entrance there to the Rainbow Bridge. Again, we're standing here at 3rd and Niagara. Originally, we were down there at 2nd and Niagara, about where they are right now. We were moved back. So that just indicates all these people that have been coming in here. As we pointed out a while ago, we did see alcohol, tobacco, and firearms coming in here with their large recreational vehicle. Investigators staff that, and they are looking for any evidence, if there would be any evidence of explosive materials. But we are constantly being told here that apparently they had done some initial screening. We did see the Erie County Bomb Squad here with their units, as well as others, and they were not finding any evidence of any explosive material apparently within that vehicle that again had struck the bridge approaching the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge here, or struck a fence, I should say. That was what we had heard from that witness who described the path of that vehicle down Niagara Street at that very high rate of speed. He said it was not being pursued by any police vehicles, but it was kind of careening and swerving going down Niagara Street and then just plowed right into that fence structure there right at the entrance to the bridge. And that's what led to the explosion. So again, you may be able to see us. Obviously, Niagara Falls police here, quite a presence, blocking off the streets in this area. I'm going to tell you that earlier this afternoon, we saw a lot of traffic here on 3rd and Niagara because people trying to navigate through here. Obviously, nobody able to get near that bridge at this point. There had been apparently some bridge staffers that had been standing next to the parking garage structure there, just to the left side of the street here on Niagara, approaching the bridge. They have all left the scene at this point. But again, we want to stress that we did see a number of these law enforcement personnel. It was really pretty dramatic as photojournalist Franco Ardito and I were coming up here on the 190. At one point on Grand Island, we had to pull over because we saw at least 3 Homeland Security vehicles just, I would say, flying up the 190 to come up to this area. So that indicated, as this word was getting out about what happened here, how they immediately were bringing all these law enforcement personnel on scene, including, again, a lot of those unmarked vehicles, which we can only surmise were probably Homeland Security and a number of the agencies that would be involved. That would include, of course, anybody else from Customs and Border Protection, also from the FBI and from any other affiliated agencies, Border Patrol and others that we've seen here all throughout the area. So that would indicate the response to this incident, which apparently we're still trying to figure out what exactly happened here, other than that initial statement from the FBI Buffalo office that had indicated there was some kind of vehicle explosion. And again, I'm going to use those words, that it was a fluid situation and they were still trying to get information and that the situation could change. Again, we're being heard that the highest levels of our federal government, President Biden being briefed on this situation, and that also, of course, Governor Hochul had been briefed and was making statements pledging the support of the New York State Police and all the local agencies. So again, we'll leave you with that scenario here, still waiting for answers, but quite a involved scene here, as you might imagine. Back to you in the studio.
Ron, before we leave you, I do want to just go over one thing. The full authorities, the FBI, Homeland Security, no one has officially said yet, correct, that it is or is not terrorism? They haven't said it is, correct? It could be something else.
Scott.
It could just be a bad situation with an explosion, and who knows what happened there.
Right, Scott. We do not have any definitive word on exactly what happened here, what have been perhaps the motivation of the occupants of that vehicle to approach the bridge here at a high rate of speed. We just don't know at this point. That's why we're urgently trying to urge some of the officials here through some of the local sources that we have, trying to get the federal authorities saying, please hold some kind of a press conference that also helps to dispel any of the rumors out there that are floating around on social media. Things like this spread like wildfire at a time like this, and we want to make sure we are getting correct information to get that out to the public and our viewers.
Very important.
And Ron, you did speak with a witness today. Can you recap what that person told you?
Yes, again, this was a gentleman who said that he was visiting here with his wife from Kitchener, Ontario, and that they apparently were just walking in the vicinity here of the bridge, and that, or near the bridge here, and just up and down some of the streets. They noticed, I'm sorry, I'm being told by a producer, we do have the sound that we can play now, is that correct? Okay, all right. Here is what that gentleman from Kitchener, Ontario told us, a dramatic account of what he witnessed. Here we are.
The car was coming flying back here, like over 100 miles an hour. We could hardly even see me. It was going that quick. There was a car in front of him. He swerved around it, and then it looked like he hit the fence, and this fire started, and then all of a sudden he went up in the air, and then it was a ball of fire like 30, 40 feet high. I've never seen anything like it. It was really incredible.
Again, that gentleman and his wife were okay, but very startled. They did speak, from what they told us, to Homeland Security. They were actually interviewed as witnesses, and they gave them their contact information in case they have to follow up. That is what he told us here, and it's just an amazing account of what he gave there, of what he saw. He did say that it was apparently a sedan. We're not going to get into the make and model because he couldn't confirm that. He did tell us what his guess was, but we're just going to say a sedan at this point. He could not see how many occupants were in the vehicle. However, my colleagues here have all been reporting that they are getting from sources in Washington and elsewhere, and from NBC News, that apparently there were 2 occupants in that vehicle and that 2 individuals were killed as a result of this. So that is what we're getting from those sources. Again, just a dramatic account he gave us there. So that is the information that we have at this point. We're hoping, really hoping, to get something soon from federal authorities as to what exactly happened here. Scott and Claudine, back to you.
And Ron, I think for clarification too, just so that people know, when he saw the car was going into Canada?
Yes, it was here on the, this is what this gentleman told us, that it was here on the U.S. side on Niagara Street, moving at that very fast rate of speed, approaching the bridge, and went right in towards the bridge, hit that fence structure right near the entrance to the bridge, and that is apparently when it exploded.
Yeah, yeah.
I do want to repeat also, the FBI, they tweeted this out earlier. They haven't updated it yet. They say the FBI Buffalo field office is investigating a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge, a border crossing between U.S. and Canada. The FBI is coordinating with local, state, and federal law enforcement partners. So they have not used the terrorism word yet officially. So we're still awaiting that word from them, if in fact that's true.
Yeah, and once we hear that, then we will let you know that. But right now, that word is not being used. But what we do want to do now, Ron, thank you for that report. We're going to go back out and take a live look of the Peace Bridge. As you can see, traffic is moving. We do know from some other video that we have that trucks have been pretty much off to the side. Once again, the bridge crossings have been closed down, shut down, but it does appear that traffic is starting to move near the Peace Bridge, even though you see the flashing lights just up above. So you can expect to see a lot of police and law enforcement. We know that this is a time already you're going to see checkpoints, right? For DWI, sobriety test checkpoints that are going to be happening because this is the season. It's holiday time and people are out, but it's going to be heightened even more so right now in wake of this incident that took place, and we do not know exactly what this is all about. Scott, one of the things you did say, and I think it lends to why we're concerned, you know, what is this happening? Because the government has been saying, you know, be alert, be cautious, and so they've been putting people on alert just to warn everyone. And of course, the hope and prayer is that that is not the case. But we are hoping to learn more today. Obviously, because this is an international situation, I'm assuming this is why it's taking a little bit longer for us to hear press conferences from the governor, from the president, as well as Canadian officials, because they all have to gather together and come to terms with what happened and let the public know.
And of course, once again, the bridges are closed, the Peace Bridge is closed, but I'm told that the backup by Porter Avenue has pretty much cleared right now. So that's a good news for those travelers in that area. Right now, let's go back to our newsroom right now.
Yeah, hey there,
has some
Scott and
information.
Claudine. A couple new things that we've been able to look into. NBC reporting that one Border Patrol officer was injured during this incident. They did not require hospitalization. They were treated at the scene from what NBC is reporting. But one Border Patrol officer injured at the scene as part of this. 2 occupants of that vehicle are also dead at the scene after allegedly, from what NBC has said and reported, the vehicle traveled at a high rate of speed into the vicinity of the border crossing, crashed, caught fire, and exploded. No secondary incendiary devices were found at the scene after the search. So those 2 occupants are dead at the scene. One Border Patrol officer injured. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is also saying that the city has been put on a, quote, heightened state of alert due to the upcoming holiday and some other security alerts that have been apparently issued. We're working to confirm what those security alerts may have been earlier overnight or in the early hours of this morning. So New York City is also on a heightened state of alert due to the holiday, but also the unfolding situation here in Niagara Falls. Scott and Claudine.
Again, we've also learned that President Biden is aware of the situation. The White House is closely monitoring the situation. Law enforcement on the scene and investigating, which we know that is happening. But I believe the president right now is in Nantucket for the Thanksgiving holiday, but has been briefed on the situation and is closely monitoring it. So it's being monitored from the White House to the State House in Albany with Governor Hochul, who will be making her way back to Western New York, as well as Canadian officials.
That's right. Okay, Senator Schumer is also tweeting about the situation right now as well. And I'm being told that he says he is monitoring the situation here in Buffalo at the Rainbow Bridge very closely as well. So you have the Senate Majority Leader saying that he is monitoring the situation. You have Governor Kathy Hochul on her way back here home to Buffalo and Niagara area. You have the FBI involved. Homeland Security, the ATF National Response Team is there. So they're all handling this. We are still waiting. We have Ron Plants at the scene. We're still waiting for an official word as to exactly what happened there and what we are or are not dealing with. Right now, all we know is that a vehicle at a high rate of speed, from a witness, rammed into the border area there and exploded. It was a massive fire, I am told, and 2 people inside the vehicle, 2 occupants, are dead. 1 law enforcement officer did suffer injuries at the scene as well. But you can see there, they have cordoned off that whole area. All the investigators are coming onto the scene now to try and get us the latest information and exactly what did occur here at the Rainbow Bridge on what is the probably busiest travel day of the year for folks going in and out of Canada and by plane or by car.
And so one of the other things we can think about too is that we know that 2 people are dead. A law enforcement agent was injured. It's a wonder that more people were not injured in this particular incident.
Especially during a busy time of the year.
Exactly,
Right.
Exactly. Right now, this is another look of some video of that actual area where this incident took place, around this area near the Rainbow Bridge. And this is a familiar area. I mean, if you live in Niagara Falls right now, we do want to hear from Niagara Falls officials because this is in their backyard. This is Niagara Falls, Ontario, in that area, or Niagara Falls, USA. We want to hear from those officials as well. I'm sure at this particular time they are being briefed. These are some pictures from viewers who are up there. A lot of people probably started their holiday weekend a little bit early, so they were off and around. And these are pictures that have been sent in to us after the incident actually took place. You can see right now you're seeing, but look at this. This is just debris. That car we know is no more.
Yeah, it is no more, that's for sure. And those early reports that it may have been a, well, I'm sorry, Judy, could you say that again?
Yeah.
Okay, we do have some new video here. This is coming out of the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. Airport security there, they're doing their job. They are searching vehicles there. Everyone who goes in to either drop off or pick up somebody, they are having their vehicle searched. They have canines there as well, bomb detectors. So this is an abundance of caution because we had a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge. All cautions are being taken in this area on the busiest travel day of the year.
So if you are just turning in or tuning in and want to know what's happening, if you don't know already, there was a vehicle explosion reported at the Rainbow Bridge. This did happen. 2 people were killed. a member of law enforcement was injured. How does it affect you right now? Well, if you are traveling into Canada, that's likely not going to happen at this particular point. If you are trying to come into the United States from Canada, that too is not going to happen. If you are flying out of Buffalo, and I'm assuming this also takes place at the airport in Niagara Falls, expect stepped up security.
And big delays.
Big delays, big delays. So we know around here you can go to the airport. You don't have to go 2 hours early. You can get there a little bit quicker, but this time you may want to get there early if you have a flight that's going out anytime from now until midnight, until this situation is resolved. We heard from Kelly Khatib. She also said that expect stepped up security outside of the airport as well as inside. So once you go inside and you have to deal with TSA, maybe they're asking you a few more questions. Maybe you have pre-check and they're gonna, you're ready to just zoom on through. That may not happen right away. It may be a little bit more delayed.
And you yourself, you were at the airport, right?
These are actually pictures that I took today at the airport. This was probably around 1 o'clock or 1:15 this afternoon. It seems at this point is when they just started, because we had a crew at the airport before this and there were no checkpoints happening. So I guess I got there at the right time to experience this. And certainly they tell you, turn your car off. As you can see, there was an NFTA police vehicle on the side. That one had just pulled up. There were two in front of us, and then there was another one pulling up as well. Turn off your car. The dogs are there. They're gonna go around your car, do what you want them to do, and that is to make sure that there were no explosives. In fact, when you let down your window, and I'm gonna ask questions because that's what we do.
Right.
I did ask, what's going on. Of course, I knew what was happening, but what did they want to look for? But he says specifically, we are just checking every vehicle for explosives. Those are the words that I heard right from NFTA police. So when you go to the airport today, they are asking you to roll down your window, turn off your car, and they're checking for explosives.
All right, we're going to go to Mayor Brown's statement once again, and this is what the mayor had to say just a few moments ago.
Law enforcement is actively engaged together, looking into this circumstance at the Rainbow Bridge. We have the Buffalo Police, the Erie County Sheriff's Department, state law enforcement agencies, and federal law enforcement agencies all working together to try to determine the cause of the explosion at the Rainbow Bridge.
And that was Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown. We hope to hear from the mayor, as well as we want to hear from law enforcement here in the city of Buffalo as well, to find out what they're doing. Are they stepping up any of their detail tonight? We know that their detail was already going to be out for the holiday weekend for sobriety checkpoints, but in wake of this, they have to be looking and asking more questions.
On alert.
Anything that looks suspicious, they're going to stop.
Yeah.
They will stop you.
And the reports of this explosion were that it was a very large
Yeah.
explosion
Yeah.
there also.
And to hear Ron Plants talk to that eyewitness who
Yep.
said that the car was going from the United States into Canada.
Estimated 80, 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, somebody who actually saw that, you can only imagine what the authorities, the customs, what they were thinking as this was taking place. I mean, this is happening in real time for them.
Right. Yeah, incredible. All right, we're going to go back to our Nate Benson once again. He is in the newsroom gathering some more information. Nate, what have you learned?
Yes, Scott and Claudine, obviously we're trying to make a lot of calls here, talking to our sources, trying to just nail down, really what happens next as part of the investigation. We're waiting on really official word of what's happening here. Governor Kathy Hochul is en route to Western New York, heading to Niagara Falls to get a further briefing regarding this situation unfolding at the border. Obviously, there are Homeland Security involved, FBI's Terrorism Task Force, New York State Police, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, all involved in this developing situation there at the border. Again, just to reiterate, here's what we know so far. This is coming again from what we've been able to confirm with NBC News, that a vehicle traveled at a high rate of speed, crashed near the border there, caught on fire and exploded. No secondary explosive devices were found at the scene during that preliminary search. So we just really don't know the cause of all this. Yeah, we don't know if it was intentional. We don't know if this is just a horrible accident. We just don't have those details yet. 2 occupants inside that vehicle are dead. 1 U.S. Custom Border officer was injured at the scene, but they were not hospitalized. They were treated at the scene and are doing okay. Within the last hour or so, New York City Mayor Eric Adams saying that New York City is on a heightened state of alert given the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday, but also what is unfolding here at the border. So a lot of moving parts to this situation right now. We're making a lot of calls trying to get experts to the station or on Zoom calls to really just help us figure out what happens next with a unfolding situation like this, what happens next in the investigation, and really when would we know things, right? We don't necessarily know how long something like this would take. Obviously, law enforcement, it is a holiday coming up. A lot of people had vacation time, things like that. So a lot of resources are now pouring into the Western New York area to try and get ahead of this investigation and learn more. We don't necessarily really know if this was intentional, like NBC reported earlier, or if this was just a very unfortunate accident. Again, 2 people dead, 1 Border Patrol officer injured at the scene, but they're doing fine right now. Scott and Claudine.
Yeah, that is so important to make sure that our viewers do know that. To just stay calm. We don't know exactly what happened here at the border. We do know that a terrible accident occurred, a collision between a vehicle and the border, and 2 occupants are now dead inside that vehicle, and a law enforcement officer has been injured as well. But as far as stating exactly what it was,
we don't know.
We don't want to go there right now until we hear from the federal law enforcement agencies that are involved now. The feds are there.
Right, the investigators. And this is having a ripple down effect when you think about it, because we talked about what's happening at the airport. I was just informed from someone in law enforcement who is at the airport that there are delays at the airport due to workers held up in traffic. That's a reality of something like this happening. Rescheduled flights for multiple travelers. That is something that they are seeing happening right now at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. Many people, once again, workers held up due to traffic. We already told you about the checkpoints that they have to go through just to get inside. And now for some of the travelers, their flights have been rescheduled. And this is happening for multiple travelers. And that's understandable because once again, you're so used to getting there so quick to departure time. And then today, you're not getting there quickly.
The fact of the matter is, this is the night before Thanksgiving. There are folks in Canada, Americans, that want to come home to visit family, and people in the United States that want to go to Canada to visit family. The reality is they're not going to be able to get over any of those bridges right now. We don't know when those bridges are going to be opened up. Hopefully the DOT or the feds will be able to tell us when and if maybe the Peace Bridge will be able to open up soon, or one of the other alternate routes to get over there. But a lot of people do use the Rainbow Bridge right up there in Niagara Falls as well. It's usually a very easy bridge to get over. It usually has a lot less traffic than some of the Peace Bridges.
Exactly. So once again, that ripple down effect as a result of this explosion at the Rainbow Bridge is having a trickle down effect to people right here in Buffalo and Western New York. You can expect to see more police on the roads, especially when we're talking about a vehicle that exploded going at the Rainbow Bridge, going that way. You can expect to see that police are really going to be stepped up. Anything that looks suspicious right now, you will likely be stopped. Be forewarned, you know now because of this situation that happened. Again, we do not know the motive for why this happened. I think Ron Plants made that very clear out there. We are waiting to hear from authorities. We're told that Governor Kathy Hochul is making her way back home. You best believe that she is going to be consulting with authorities from the White House as well as Canadian officials. We're a border community, so therefore it's a little different when you're dealing with Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and we're right at the border.
Not only that, but you have workers. We have workers in this newsroom that work here and live in Canada. So it is certainly going to cause a whole lot of delays for a lot of folks, especially right now. But we're just trying to wait until they can actually get some more facts right now. We have told you what we know, and we're trying to get more and more information and more interviews. But we do know that that one vehicle did hit the border at a very high rate of speed. I've seen some videos from the security. I'm sorry. Okay. Being told that the flights at the airport are all scheduled right now. We're not seeing an awful lot of delays right now. We're looking at the website right now as well. Our producer's telling me.
And I think that's going to happen. Like the flights are going to take off,
Yeah.
but it's the people. How many people are actually going to be on the plane?
Right.
You know, so the flights are taking off, but if people can't get there to get on the flight, they may have to miss it or it has to be rescheduled. But that is not going to stop the plane from actually taking off.
And some folks that might have been taking a flight, a short flight, may
Right.
end up in their vehicle driving to, let's say, Boston
Exactly.
or New York City or Washington, D.C.
And if this was where you were connecting on your flight, then you didn't have to leave the airport.
Exactly.
So then you're going to get on your next flight.
Exactly. So once again, we heard from Mayor Byron Brown earlier today, and he said that City Hall has been closed just in an abundance of caution because we just don't know yet. We do know it was a vehicle explosion. We don't know why it happened or anything surrounding it yet, at least not officially from the feds.
Yeah, so we hope to get another update from the airport. We also are reaching out to officials in the city of Niagara Falls to see on this side of the border, to see what's happening there. Also, we'd like to hear from Niagara Falls officials on the Canadian side of the border too, because we know that this affects all of us here. And many people are crossing that border to go shopping. Some people maybe want to just come over for tonight. This is the big party night. We know a lot of people go out. They may want to do that, get a hotel, and then shop on Friday.
This is going to be on everyone's mind right
Absolutely
now.
it is.
Judy, do we have the sound from the Canadian officials that took place about 45 minutes ago? Can we run that again? Okay, we're going to run that again. This is from a Canadian official just over the border.
Border Services Agency. The Prime Minister and I will receive further information in the coming moments. This is obviously a very serious situation. The Government of Canada is taking this situation extremely seriously. We are in close contact with American authorities. We don't want to speculate on precisely that sort of detail. This is an evolving situation coming into Canadian authorities.
It is an evolving situation, and you know, we don't know exactly the motive behind this, but we do know that the FBI, the head of the FBI, did speak to Congress less than a week ago, saying just be vigilant, be on alert, that there was a heightened possibility of some type of attacks. But we have no idea what this is officially yet. We just know it's a vehicle explosion.
Right, so this is not the time to speculate on that. It is the time to be vigilant, really all the time, but especially around holiday times, you have to be a little bit more vigilant because it's the world we live in right now. Someone texted and said, what is this world coming to? Well, this is where we are.
Yeah,
and we have to live in it and deal with it and be vigilant.
And we did hear from the Jewish community earlier today too. Judy, can we see what they had to say? Okay. The JCC is now closed, also in an abundance of caution. This is what they had to say. This is
Governor Kathy Hochul.
This
Now
is Governor Kathy
from the
Hochul.
JCC.
Now here's the JCC. Our partners in law enforcement have recommended that we close our buildings through the Thanksgiving holiday. So there you have that too. So this is having a much larger, wider net right now than we had originally thought.
Right, and we know the Jewish community is already on edge in things that have been happening with Hamas. So as a result of that, and now you have this, which is unknown at this particular time, what this was all about. They're being cautious. City Hall is being cautious. And you think about where City Hall is located, right near the entrance to the Peace Bridge, not very far.
A couple miles
away. So you can understand why a large building like that, a governmental building is going to close at this particular time. We understand why that is happening.
Yeah.
Again, if you are traveling to the airport, expect delays inside and outside. Let's now go to our Nate Benson, who's in our newsroom. Nate, do you have any new information?
Well, really, Claudine, just a reiteration of what we know, and we just got another NITEC update regarding those closures. You know, all the border crossings are closed right now. Traffic is starting to back up near the airport. NFTA saying a short time ago that normally the rule of thumb when you're traveling for Thanksgiving, other holidays, give yourself 2 hours. They're saying now take 3 or more if you have outbound flights this evening. Again, no major cancellations at the moment, but again, just give yourself a lot of extra time. I just got off the phone with a source with the Jewish Federation, and again, to reiterate, there's no known threats right now. Obviously, with everything that's going on in the world, everyone's on a heightened state of alert. The security team for the Jewish Federation has really just authorized or encouraged the JCC and Jewish Family Services to close through the Thanksgiving holiday. Again, no known threats at this time, but just again, out of an abundance of caution. I know that might sound contradictory to what we're saying. We don't know anything right now, but we're just saying, this is what the Jewish Federation's doing, given the circumstances of not only what's happening in the world, but what is unfolding in Niagara Falls as well. Speaking of Niagara Falls, again, just to reiterate, here's what we do know. We know a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed crashed and exploded at the border crossing. 2 people in that vehicle have died. 1 border officer injured at the scene, but was not taken to the hospital. And that is really what we officially know right now. Governor Kathy Hochul is en route to Niagara Falls right now to get a further briefing from a variety of agencies. Right now, we do know Homeland Security is involved, the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, New York State Police, and of course, the Customs and Border Patrol is working this very active scene at this time. This has all been unfolding in the last 3 or so hours. So, a lot we don't know at this time, but investigators are trying to get a handle of what they can verify and what they believe is actually unfolding at the border. Scott and Claudine.
Hey, thank you very much. And our producer tells us they were able to scan some of the departures at the airport, and it looks like just Baltimore and Washington, D.C. may have a little delay, but everything else is pretty much scheduled on time. But, check in with your airline just to make sure that you have not been canceled. We have our Keelan Berrien. He is live now. I believe we have him live now from the airport. Keelan, what are you learning? What's the latest there? Everything is still running, and let us know the latest.
Yeah, Scott, this certainly couldn't have come at a worse day than today. It's the day before Thanksgiving, and the Buffalo Niagara Airport is already seeing a lot of its holiday travelers. Right now, like you said before, we're standing in the parking lot at the Buffalo Niagara Airport. I'm going to step out of the way here so you can get a clear picture of what we're seeing here. We spoke to an NFTA spokesperson, Kelly Khatib, and, she tells us right now that the NFTA police, transit police, are doing clean sweeps on those travelers that are dropping off travelers, and for those travelers that are just coming into the airport. This will be happening until further notice. Right now, they're using explosive detection dogs to really sweep these cars thoroughly for any explosive material that anybody may or may not have. Right now, you can hear for yourself what our Kelly Khatib has to say.
Hey, Keelan, if we can keep you for a moment, can you have your photographer pan out a little bit so we can see the extent of the delay there that's at the airport, if we still have you?
Of course, Brad, if you can just continue to just show the scene. As you can see, it's literally backed up, car after car after car. Photog Bragg and I literally was sitting in this line for about 20 minutes before we was able to come to this spot right now. Khatib is also encouraging those travelers that have to catch a flight to come at least about 3 to 3.5 hours before your departure time. But as we learn more about the scene here and more about these clean sweeps, again, that will be happening until further notice. We will update you along the way. But reporting out from Buffalo Niagara Airport, Keelan Berrien, Channel 2 News.
Hey, Keelan, great job. Let me ask you, if you can ask Brad to pan out a little bit wider and give us more of a perspective so we can see exactly how much it is backed up there at the airport. Have them go wide and go to the left or to the right as the people are entering. We just want to get an idea as to how backed up it is there. If you can go to the right a little bit, pan out.
So right, Brad. If you can just follow me around here, just so more of our viewers can just really see the extent of how backed up it really is. If you can just continue to just pan on, literally, it just goes all the way into the entrance of the airport. Once again, you can see those cars backed up, car for car. NFTA police, transit police, checking and doing a clean sweep for any explosive material within any car that is coming this way. Once again, it is strongly encouraged for you to come 3 to 3.5 hours before your departure time. You're still looking at those different cars. Everyone's standing still. Some of these folks are going to be in here for a very long time. Once again, Brad and I, we went through this process, was in the line. We still called it kind of early, was in this line for about 20 minutes before we had to just hop out of the car and run to the spot that we are in now. But again, still seeing those line of cars, both lanes really just full. These are multiple lane road, just full on both sides, car after car after car. Once again, Kelly Khatib, NFTA representative spokesperson, is encouraging all travelers to really come 3 to 3.5 hours before. As you can see, Buffalo Police, NFTA police along the way, still directing that traffic for people to come through to get swept and searched by those explosive searching dogs. Again, as we continue on to learn a little bit more, we can just tell you guys and update you guys along the way.
Keelan, one more quick question. It looks
Scott,
like
we're
some
going
of
to send
those
it right back to you guys inside the studio.
Keelan, it looks like some of those cars are moving pretty well right now. Are they checking every single car as they go into the airport? Are they letting some through?
Well, based off of what our NFTA spokesperson Kelly Khatib says, cars that's dropping travelers off and for cars that are coming into the airport are both getting swept. Yes, as you've seen here, we cannot confirm if every car is not going to be swept thoroughly. But as right now, as we are looking, some of those cars that are just dropping off some of those travelers, they are just going and moving along the way. Once again, if Brad, you can just continue to pan all the way and see the extent of how backed up this parking lot really is here at the Buffalo Niagara Airport.
Does it go all the way back to Genesee, Keelan?
All the way to the entrance of the airport,
Wow.
Scott. You know, it's very far back there. Once again, Brad and I we came here early and we still had to wait at least 20 minutes. Cars here are going to be waiting until at least an hour here, but we cannot confirm that with you guys right now.
Well,
but once again, just to really answer your question again, the Kelly Khatib, spokesperson with NFTA, you know, she is saying that cars that are dropping off those travelers and for cars that are going to be going inside the Buffalo Niagara Airport, they will be fully swept by an explosive searching dog.
And you're right about that, Keelan. Thank you so much for that report out there. If we can just continue to show those cars, if not, but he's right. He waited 20 minutes. I think when I got to the airport,
You timed it right, yeah.
because I had no delay at that point, but I could start to see cars coming and the backup was starting, and that backup is continuing. As a result, some people are going to miss their flights today if they're not there early enough.
All right, let's go to our reporter, Ron Plants, who is up there in Niagara Falls, right there, just a short distance away from the Rainbow Bridge. Ron, you have some new information, correct?
Oh, yeah, actually, Scott, and we're going to try to turn this interview around for you as quickly as we can. We just recorded it. I was with photojournalist Joseph O'Rourke over there on the other side of the street. We actually spoke to a gentleman by the name of Ricky Wilson. He says he is a tour guide here in the Niagara Falls area, and he was visiting a friend at a nearby building right near the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge. He said he also saw some kind of a vehicle, again, on this side of the border, flying down Niagara Street here, and he said that vehicle actually then went towards the entrance to the bridge. He said it actually turned over as it struck something near the bridge. Now, he contends he did not hear any kind of an explosion, but he did see a lot of black smoke, and he did see some flame. He said that vehicle actually went airborne, is the way he described it. And again, we're trying to turn this interview around for you. He said he saw the vehicle go airborne and then turn and then come down. And he said it was like something out of a Hollywood movie. He said it was just hard to talk about this. And he also said that he was interviewed by the FBI after they have seen some of the other interviews that have been coming in from people in this area, including perhaps that there are cameras in that area down there right near the bridge entrance, and he said he was telling the FBI agents that perhaps they could get some surveillance video off of that. He said this vehicle was moving so fast it was like a blur. when it came down on Niagara Street here, and again, went airborne. He kept using that word. It went airborne and then actually flipped a bit as it struck something near the entrance to the bridge. So that is what he is telling us. In terms of the scene overall here, again, we were seeing throughout the afternoon a number of law enforcement personnel coming in here. Again, stress that the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Unit came in here from the federal government with their huge RV, with the investigators who were probably on board, who would be able to assess what exactly happened here. Again, we have been hearing, excuse me, that they did not find any evidence of any explosive or incendiary material. You may have heard my colleagues also saying that we are waiting for any definitive word from the federal authorities. We have been told that apparently Governor Hochul is en route to this area and will eventually be speaking to the media, perhaps at a site a little up from here. There is another state park or area called DeVoe Woods, which is kind of a nice neighborhood that is further north here from the downtown area of Niagara Falls. And apparently the governor will be speaking to reporters there, along with hopefully some other federal officials, other than that FBI statement that came out earlier today that there said there was some kind of a vehicle explosion. Again, this last eyewitness that we spoke to said he did not see an explosion, but he did see that vehicle flipping and then heard or saw actually black smoke and fire. So that is what we have here at this point. Again, we'll have to see when that press conference occurs, guys, to send it back to you.
We are definitely waiting for that press conference to occur so that we can learn more and more facts. We are working diligently in the newsroom right now as this happened at about 11:30 this morning. And Ron, the fellow that you spoke with earlier, I have also seen it on reported on Twitter as well. He said that the vehicle appeared to him to be going at a very high rate of speed, somewhere 70, 80 miles per hour. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, he said that. In fact, we had another witness said, I don't know, maybe 100 miles an hour. It's kind of hard maybe to gauge speed at that high, but other people, the other witness that we spoke to too, again, a man who was here visiting with his wife from Kitchener, Ontario, he said to us that that vehicle also appeared to be careening down the road, kind of swerving as it approached the bridge. The roadway here is a little wet. I don't know if it was slippery when the vehicle was going there, but obviously at that rate of speed, however fast it was, it could maybe have swerved as it was approaching the bridge structure. Back to you.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Ron Plants reporting live for us at the scene, right there just a short distance away from the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls.
And our breaking news coverage is continuing here at 4 o'clock. Right now, we do know at least 2 people are dead after a vehicle explosion on the Rainbow Bridge. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kate Welsh.
Hello, Kate. And I'm Scott Levin. The FBI and several other agencies, they are continuing to investigate all international crossings. They are closed until further notice due to an incident involving a vehicle coming into the United States. Now, it says coming into the United States. I'm not sure about that, whether or not that's true. It may be leaving the United States.
We certainly know there are a lot of questions still with what happened here. We're going to share what we know right now. We're going to begin with 2 on your sides, Andy Payton. Andy.
Kate and Scott, that's right. As you can see behind me, just over my shoulder, it is still a very active scene here in the Falls, a scene that witnesses have described to us has really been unfolding before their eyes, that they've been on the ground here with us for the past few hours. And just a few moments ago, we spoke with a man and his wife who were traveling from Canada here to the United States to celebrate Thanksgiving, and they tell us they believe they saw the vehicle actually crazy moving down the street here at a high rate speed, and while they were on a walk on Niagara Street. And here's what they had to say about it. Take a listen. The man there says he saw that vehicle really traveling at a high rate speed and was really taken away with what he saw in terms of just fire and smoke coming up out of there. And we have some video here that we want to show you as well. It shows fire through a fence there. That's what many witnesses here on the scene have been describing that they saw as well, in addition to this man. And we now know that that fire through that fence was caused by the vehicle when he was traveling at that high rate speed through the security checkpoint. Now we're going to be on the ground here and continue to provide updates for you as we know more. But for now, I'm live in Niagara Falls. Adi Payton, Channel 2 News.
How shocking seeing something like that must be with those witness accounts. Two on your sides, Ron Plants has been out in Niagara Falls throughout the afternoon trying to learn more about what has happened this morning. Ron, what can you tell us so far?
Well, at this point, again, we do have that significant law enforcement personnel here, a number of Homeland Security investigators on scene. We've seen those very distinctive, actually they're not supposed to be distinctive, but they're those unmarked black vehicles with flashing lights, a variety of vehicles that converged on scene here ever since photojournalist Franco and Ardito and I have been on scene since about 12 this afternoon on this site. And again, we were trying to get some information from federal authorities. The only thing they were able to put out was that FBI Buffalo statement that came out much earlier this afternoon that said that there was some kind of an incident involving an explosion with a vehicle. And then they said that the situation could change rapidly, a fluid situation. The situation, I would have to say here, again, we saw the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms unit actually come on scene. These would be those very sophisticated investigators who would be looking for any evidence of a bomb-making material or anything that perhaps could have been in that vehicle. We are hearing from all our colleagues, as well as from NBC News, that they had not found any evidence so far of any explosives material within that vehicle. We were told that that vehicle apparently shattered. This is according to witnesses, that vehicle was apparently shattered by the blast here. And that there was fire and smoke. We heard from another eyewitness just a couple of minutes ago who said actually he didn't see an explosion, but he did see that vehicle moving at that very high rate of speed here down Niagara Street, right towards the entrance of the Rainbow Bridge, and that as he put it, the vehicle actually went airborne and actually turned a bit as it actually struck something right near the bridge entrance there. I asked him if it actually got close to where the bridge inspectors would be in those booths as you come across the bridge. He said he wasn't sure about that, but it hit something, and that's when he saw that smoke and flames. He said it was like something out of a Hollywood movie, if you will, and it was really hard to comprehend what he was seeing at the time. He did indicate to us that he had been interviewed by the FBI, that they were taking all of his information. He also told them that apparently there are a number of surveillance cameras that are down in that area right near the bridge entrance, and as such, he was suggesting to them that perhaps they've got to check those cameras. So that is what we are hearing here. We are waiting, obviously, for any kind of a press conference, perhaps involving Governor Hochul. We do know that at the highest levels of government, apparently the federal government, that President Biden has been briefed on the situation. And again, I'm sure that's why you're seeing this convergence of Homeland Security and other investigators on this scene as we speak. So that's the situation here from 3rd and Niagara in the city of Niagara Falls, right near the Rainbow Bridge entrance there. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Ron, thank you again. As we talk about the leaders who are involved here, leaders across the border in Canada also talking about this explosion. We're hearing from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about what he is doing right now. Here's what he had to say.
We are in close contact with U.S. officials and will continue to work closely with them. We will continue to be engaged. We will provide updates. Updates I can give right now is there are 4 border crossings that are right now closed: Rainbow Bridge, Whirlpool Bridge, Queenston Bridge, and Peace. Additional measures are being contemplated and activated at all border crossings across the country. We are taking this extraordinarily seriously.
And again, the Prime Minister is working closely with U.S. officials as well.
All right, well, the incident, of course, comes during one of the busiest travel days of the entire year. Of course, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and this is the day, folks.
Yeah, and this afternoon, the Buffalo Airport is taking some extra precautions to keep travelers safe. To On Your Side's Keelan Berrien is there live for us now. And Keelan, people are going to have to wait a little longer than they normally would.
Yeah, Kate and Scott, just once again, we're standing here at the Buffalo Niagara Airport in front of one of the parking lots. We can just see over my shoulder here where NFTA police is really doing a clean sweep for any explosive material. I'm going to step out of the way here, and the photojournalist Brad can really just show you guys what we are looking at right now. After speaking with the spokesperson of NFTA, Kelly Khatib, she tells us that throughout the day until further notice, NFTA police will be doing an extensive clean sweep on all vehicles dropping off travelers and for any travelers that are coming into the airport. As you can see, they're using some of those explosive searching dogs that's really doing a thorough clean sweep of these vehicles. And Brad, if you can just continue to pan on here, you can literally just see the extent of these cars, how it's just really so backed up. Car after car after car after car, stretching all the way out to the 33 or Genesee Street. Kelly Khatib is really asking everyone to really be patient during this time. Right now, this comes at a very bad time, just given that tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so it really puts a lot of stress on this the airport here. But Kelly Khatib, this is all she had to say.
We haven't received any threats to our system, but because of the events that are unfolding at the Rainbow Bridge, we are just doing this out of the abundant precaution. Like you said, there are going to be additional screenings that travelers are going to go under. We have our airport explosive detection dogs who are going to be checking every single vehicle that comes in, because the number one thing that we are thinking about right now is the safety of all of our passengers and travelers.
Right, you join us back live again. Once again, still looking at that scene. Just follow my voice along there here. Scott, you pointed out earlier that some of these cars were just driving on by. And after talking to some of the NFTA personnel here, they were saying some of those cars that were just driving by were actually people dropping off some travelers, and they're going to be checked over at the TSA pre-check inside the airport. But as far as those are going to be parking here at the airport overnight and is really taking that travel themselves, their vehicle really rather is going to be thoroughly swept by those police dogs. Now, Khatib is really encouraging all of our holiday travelers to really come at least 3 to 3.5 hours before your departed flight. Once again, that traffic out here in the airport is very backed up, stretching all the way to the 33. Photojournalist Brad and I really sat through this line. We got here a little early, but it still took us 20 minutes to get to where we are before. Some of these cars are going to be waiting well over that. But as we continue to learn more about the situation, we will update you along the way. Kate and Scott, we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
You got it, Keelan. Great report. Thank you for that update today. Right now, we're going to go back into the newsroom right now. Our Nate Benson has some more information regarding the airport itself. Right, Nate?
Yeah, Scott, I just got off the phone with Kelly Khatib from NFTA just within the last 10 minutes, and I called her mainly because we're seeing on social media a lot of claims that international flights at the airport have been canceled. I just got off the phone with Kelly. She said that is not the case. All terminal flights at the airport are departing on their normal schedule. The only thing that's happening is Signature Aviation, which is a charter plane company, is halting flights right now, but all other flights leaving the terminal right now for this Thanksgiving holiday are departing on time. There are some inbound flights that are delayed because of weather issues elsewhere, but right now those rumors really you're seeing on social media, if you're even seeing them, that international flight and flights out of Buffalo Niagara International Airport are being canceled. That is not the case. It is Signature Aviation, a charter company that does fly into Canada. Those flights have been halted at this time, so there is not a widespread cancellation delays at Buffalo Niagara right now. Obviously, with everything unfolding in Niagara Falls, that's causing a further delay with all 3 border bridges being closed right now. That is causing a lot of congestion on the 190. We're just getting reports from NITEC that backups are consistently happening and starting to spill down the 190 right now, mainly because those bridges are closed. But everything at the airport right now is functioning, except like my colleague Keelan said, give yourself more time because they are checking vehicles for security reasons when you arrive at the airport. So to give yourself those extra hours of time to get to the airport, but all flights out of the terminal leaving on time. Scott?
Thank you very much, Nate. Kate?
Yeah, and the city of Buffalo also responding to this incident this afternoon. Leaders closed City Hall a little over 2 hours ago now, and sources tell 2 on your side this was just done out of an abundance of caution. And we also spoke with Buffalo Mayor Brown about what happened, and here's what he had to say.
Law enforcement is actively engaged together, looking into this circumstance at the Rainbow Bridge. We have the Buffalo Police, the Erie County Sheriff's Department, state law enforcement agencies, and federal law enforcement agencies all working together to try to determine the cause of the explosion at the Rainbow Bridge.
Are still trying to determine that right now. We are also hearing from the Jewish Community Center. This is of Greater Buffalo. A spokesperson there tells 2 on your side that law enforcement have recommended that they close their buildings through the Thanksgiving holiday. They go on to say there are no active threats to the Jewish community at this time.
And of course, there's a greater impact to this as well. As you mentioned, Scott, it is a time when everyone is traveling home for the holiday, or trying to anyway. So let's get a check now with Lance Mellon on what the roads are looking like right now.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kate and Scott. So yeah, just to reiterate, all 3 Western New York border crossings into and out of Canada are closed. I do just have one shot of the blockade. Heavy security, a lot of emergency vehicles there in downtown Niagara Falls, just totally blocking off that intersection and that entrance to the bridge. Now, normally we do have 2 cameras on the Rainbow Bridge that we can tap into, but this is what we're seeing on both of them. They're unavailable at this time, and a common question we get for our cameras with NITEC is, can we go back and look at footage? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. There is no recorded footage. So those Rainbow cameras, right now, they are offline, and until further notice, we are unable to check any conditions up in Niagara Falls. But this is what most of the border crossings look like right now. Lewis and Queenston here on the U.S. side, and then the Canadian side on the right, completely deserted. The Peace Bridge is looking just like this as well. And for folks maybe on the 190 North trying to get off that Peace Bridge or Porter Avenue exit, as you can see at the top right of your screen, that is completely blocked as well. So if you live on the west side of Buffalo, you usually get off at that Porter Avenue exit. Regardless of what's happening at the borders, you will be unable to get off that exit right now. So all traffic is being diverted out of those right lanes and forced up towards the 198. Now, I wanted to show you something a little curious as well. We do have a pretty nice line here. These are folks that just kind of got caught in the middle. So they got off the exit before it was closed, but after the Peace Bridge was closed. So they're just stuck there in the middle. So I'm surprised they haven't been diverted onto Niagara Street or towards Porter Avenue. So those folks, those semi-trucks and a couple of vacation travelers are just sitting there until the borders are reopened. But we will definitely keep a close eye on all 3 crossings and any other residual effects of those border closings as the afternoon continues. Kate and Scott, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Lance, appreciate the update. And I want to reiterate something that he mentioned as well, that the NITEC cameras don't record footage. So it's important to note that as well.
But I believe the border crossing itself does have its own security too.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting to see what they report
what they're able to see,
Speaking of security, we're going to go back out to the airport right now. Keelan Berrien has some new information out there. Keelan,
please. Yes, Scott and Kate, we're back here once again in this parking lot. As you can just see behind me, traffic has really cleared up. You can see those cars really just making its way right here, just in this spot right here. They were doing TSA checks, doing actual thorough clean sweeps on people's vehicles for any explosive materials. We asked a couple of the NFTA personnel if they caught anything alarming or that stood out to them. They have not found anything along the way, but however, we must stress inside the building, TSA pre-check will still continue on, so we're still stressing you guys to really come a couple hours before your departure time. But we're going to see if we can go inside and give some visuals for you guys and learn a little bit more along the way. We just want to provide this update for you guys. Kate and Scott, we're going to send it right back to you guys in the studio.
Right, Keelan, thank you, and a good reminder for anyone trying to travel to get to the airport early. And of course, this is something that we know basically what has happened, but there are still a lot of questions about what exactly has happened. And Ron Plants has been here all along the way in Niagara Falls. He's joining us again now with the very latest on what we know. Hi, Ron.
Yeah, hi, Kate. We've been talking about the fact that law enforcement, possibly Homeland Security people, have been going in and out constantly from the scene here. You can see it right there. Another vehicle and some others shooting off in different directions here. That just indicates again just how many law enforcement personnel from the federal government, the state police, Erie County has been here with their bomb squad, as well as their huge recreational vehicle, which is an emergency management vehicle. We've also seen the federal ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, who came in here with their large RV vehicle that would have investigators on board to be able to perhaps further look into exactly what happened here and try to determine exactly what happened here. The FBI had said that there was an explosion with a vehicle, but we are being told that at this point there is no indication of any incendiary elements within the wreckage of a vehicle that was found there, or any kind of a bomb-making material that would be with that vehicle. Apparently that vehicle shattered on impact. We were told that there was a fire and explosion as that vehicle was proceeding here up again on Niagara Street, right towards the bridge at a very high rate of speed. We're also told by another witness here we spoke to a little while ago that he actually saw the vehicle go airborne, if you will, and then kind of rotated and struck something. I was just overhearing him as he was doing another interview. He sounded like metal on metal with that crash. Now, he indicates he did not hear an explosion. Other people apparently did. And again, the FBI used that phrase, explosion. So here is what a first witness, who is actually a gentleman from Kitchener, Ontario, who was visiting from his wife and walking around the downtown area here, here is what he told us earlier today.
So we were walking up the road and we seen this car coming down towards the border, and he was flying over 100 miles an hour. There was a car in front of him. He swerved out, went in front of the car, hit the fence, went flying up into the air. He hit, I think there was an elevation part. He went up into the air, and we just seen the fireball, and that's all we could see. It was just covered in smoke everywhere.
So the car was coming from the U.S. into Canada, towards Canada?
Yes, it was going towards Canada, yes. It was just a fireball and smoke everywhere. We heard a big bang, yeah.
Real loud bang, and then,
Yeah.
then you saw this car and the explosion.
Yeah, and I said there's no way that guy's going to stop. There's no way he can stop. He's just going too fast.
You couldn't tell if it had what kind of license plates on it? Or
No,
anything?
no, we couldn't, no.
Well, how would you describe the car?
It looked like a Chrysler 300, but somebody told me it was a Bentley. But there's similar cars in that, so yeah.
Okay.
And he was swerving as he was going down this road here, fishtailing, because he was going so fast.
Were there any police cars following him?
No, I didn't see not one, no. And we waited, and we actually walked back to the border, and then we were there about maybe 10 minutes, and the police all started to come.
Now, so that is the interview again from this gentleman from Kitchener, Ontario. We want to stress, we do not have any confirmation so far from any law enforcement personnel, anybody at the federal level, other than, again, that email that had been put out, or a statement that had been put out apparently on X, formerly Twitter, from the FBI, indicating that there was an explosion with a vehicle and that they were looking into this matter, and that this was, of course, at the Rainbow Bridge. So that is what we have been trying to confirm all day long with them. We have been told that apparently Governor Hochul is coming to this area, that she was en route from New York City, and that she would be holding a press conference at some point, perhaps in the next hour or so. We're not sure the exact time, and we do not think it'll be at this particular location, perhaps at a nearby location where she will be briefing along, hopefully, with someone from the federal authorities to explain exactly what has happened here. As you might imagine, there's a lot of conjecture, a lot of rumors that have been swirling on social media. We don't have any confirmation of any of that other than the fact that there was some kind of a vehicle and the word used by the FBI, explosion at this scene. But I think, quite frankly, at this point, they are still trying to assess exactly what happened here to make sure that they know and that they can perhaps put some of those rumors to rest, but also make sure that they are properly responding to this incident, whatever exactly happened, whatever the motivation for the individuals in that vehicle approaching the Rainbow Bridge were, and make sure again that they have the appropriate response. That is the situation here from 3rd and Niagara in Niagara Falls. We'll send it back to you.
It definitely takes time for these investigators to be able to put those pieces together to figure out what was the motivation of this terrible explosion.
Yeah, you imagine it has to be a very meticulous process as well as they go through it, and a lot of agencies involved in that
That's
as
right.
well.
And there are some pictures I know that came into our newsroom, and our Rob Hackford is joining us now in studio with some of those, right, Rob?
Yeah, Scott and Kate, we've seen a lot of them on social media that we've been unable to confirm at this point. If you are sharing them, be cautious. You don't know where they're actually coming from. I was able to speak to one woman who shared these photos with us. She didn't want to be named, but she was right by when this fire started, right by the Rainbow Bridge. You can see there the flames through the grates of that fence there, and the smoke cloud there as well. She was in her vehicle just by the Rainbow Bridge. These photos shared with us this afternoon of kind of the aftermath of what happened here. And now we're going to head to another video here, or another clip with some photos from the One Niagara Center that I just got a few minutes ago, speaking with their marketing manager who took this photo from that center. If we can take that additional video here coming up. It's really an overhead view of this scene. Here we go. We can take a look now. So you can see the vehicle where it crashed in over here at the Rainbow Bridge, along with some fire department response as well. Really the best overhead view that we've seen all day of this incident. We're, again, waiting to hear a lot of information about this, but these photos we can confirm are of this scene, are shared by individuals who were at this scene and witnessed what happened this afternoon, or witnessed the aftermath of what happened this afternoon. So lots to go through. Pretty powerful photos here. You can see that booth at the Rainbow Bridge crossing here completely destroyed, really, with debris scattered everywhere around the field. So we'll be waiting to get more photos from anybody who was nearby. We'll be speaking with the individual who sent this one to me in just a few minutes when I head back into the newsroom. But Scott and Kate, lots to go through here and lots of photos to share with us as well if you have any at home at this moment.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Rob.
We are going to head back out to the newsroom now, where Nate Benson has some new information for us as this story continues to develop this afternoon. Hi, Nate.
Yeah, Kate and Scott, we just got information from New York City. Mayor Eric Adams, I'm going to read this statement because it just came in a few moments ago. We've sent NYPD officers upstate to support efforts on the ground. The NYPD and our partners have already enhanced security in the city. Is on heightened alert due to the upcoming holidays, so the public will see increased security at locations across New York City. So New York City Mayor Eric Adams saying that they are sending additional support up to the border to just assist with this situation. Obviously, they have a lot of resources as well. New York State Police is on scene, as well as Homeland Security, U.S. Customs Border Patrol, Homeland Security, and the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. As my colleague Ron Plan said a short time ago, Governor Kathy Hochul is en route to Niagara Falls, Western New York. I have to assume she's likely already here, but she did say that she was on the way to get further briefings of the situation unfolding at the Rainbow Bridge. But again, the latest update, NYPD offering up resources to help with this investigation. And again, we're still trying to really get a better understanding of what the scene actually is. We know from photos, we know from witnesses that a car had crashed at the border checkpoint at the Rainbow Bridge at a high rate of speed. A fire started and then the car exploded, and that's all we know at this time. NBC reporting that no secondary incendiary device was found at the scene. So again, a lot of moving parts to this very fluid situation. Scott and Kate.
Very good. Nate Benson in our newsroom tonight. Nate, thanks. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to Andy Payton right now. He has, let's see what he has from the latest information. Andy, what have you learned? All right, we're working on getting Andy right now. Hopefully we'll get him in a few moments. But it's interesting to hear that the folks down in New York City, Mayor Eric Adams there, is saying that, as Nate reported, the New York Police Department is on heightened alert right now. increased security there. Of course, this is an extremely busy time for New York City, so you know he's feeling the pressure down there as well. Until we get an official word from the FBI or Homeland Security as to what exactly occurred here at the Rainbow Bridge. What we do know is there was an explosion. We don't know the motivation yet. We want to be very, very clear. We do not know the motivation of what occurred there. And all of those agencies are there. They're all working together. The Homeland Security, ATF, FBI, state police are all working together along with Canadian officials to try and exactly figure out what was the motivation behind this vehicle that exploded there, right there at the Rainbow Bridge.
Right now, though, we are going to go out to our Andy Payton with some new information. Andy.
Kate and Scott, that's right. We're here at DeVoe State Park here in Niagara Falls, and we're told that we're going to be briefed from Governor Kathy Hochul in any minute now. We're not sure when she's going to be arriving, but we're just waiting on the ground here to hear more from her. She's going to be inside those doors behind us here. We've been seeing state police here throughout the day, but no real updates from them, any official word or confirming any information to us. But again, we're going to stay here on the ground for you, and we will provide you with that latest information and be sure to provide that press conference and briefing for you live. And for now, live in Niagara Falls, I'm Andy Payton, Channel 2 News.
All right, Andy, thank you. More to come with that. And I think as we continue on here, we're talking about what happened. We know very much the basics. And as you said, motivation or intent, or if there was intent, all of those things are big questions that at this point we don't know the answers to.
Right. And, you know, the elephant in the room is, was it terrorism? We don't know whether it was or wasn't. All we know is that the head of the FBI did speak to Congress last week, said there is a heightened alert for the possibility of terrorism. And, you know, we just don't know. That's the fact of the matter. But we also know that the governor did mention within the last 24 hours that New York was a possible target. We don't know whether this was or not, though. That's what we're trying to work out for you. And until we hear from the federal officials, we just can't tell you, folks.
And certainly what you're seeing now is proceeding very cautiously on behalf of all of these agencies that are working together.
Right. And don't believe everything that you see on Twitter, or X as they call it now. There are some erroneous things like, you know, international flights are canceled and this and that. That is, we have not confirmed any of that information right now.
We're continuing to keep you updated, and one of the things we're keeping you updated on, as this is the night before Thanksgiving, is the traffic situation. We're going to go back out now to Lance Mellon with the latest on how things are looking out there now. Hi again, Lance.
Hey, thanks, Kate and Scott. Honestly, most times during holidays, the camera behind me is completely backed up with vehicles. This is the Peace Bridge Inspection Plaza in the U.S., one of the busiest times of year, completely deserted right now. And the exit to the Peace Bridge from the 190 North is still closed as well until further notice. This could be all day. Who knows when this will be reopened. But also for folks going to Porter Avenue, as many of us know here that are local, that's a double exit to the Peace Bridge or to Porter Avenue. But both exits are currently closed right now, as you can see on the top right of your screen. Really not having too much of a delay on traffic. You can see folks are driving by just fine, but it is something we're definitely monitoring as the day goes on. The Lewis and Queenston Bridge up in Niagara County, deserted as well. This is normally a very busy border crossing, one of the busiest, I think, of the three. It's usually the top one with the longest lines. No one in sight, so we're just keeping an eye on that because folks that normally take the Lewis and Queenston Bridge are right here. This is the 190 North, getting off at Upper Mountain Road. A lot of semi-trucks are on that right shoulder. Frankly, they just don't know what to do. They don't know when it's going to be opened, and they're just, you know, waiting for any kind of word of when they can continue on with their route. But we'll be monitoring these cameras, of course, as the day goes on. I just want to leave you with, once again, the blockade right near Niagara Street, right at the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge. Heavy security, a lot of emergency vehicles, and that's basically all we know right now over here at the NFTA. But I'll be keeping you updated as the afternoon continues. Kate and Scott, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, thank you again, Lance. And we know there's been a bit of a ripple effect with this as well, particularly at the airport.
That's right. Let's check in with our Nate Benson once again in the newsroom. Nate?
Scott and Kate, there's a lot of confusion right now that we're trying to clear up because I just got off the phone again with Kelly Khatib from the NFTA. So if you look on the FAA National Airport System Status website, it says that Buffalo is closed to departures and arrivals for international flights. I just got off the phone with Kelly Khatib from the NFTA. That is for a charter airline, Signature Aviation, that has flights from Canada arriving to Buffalo Niagara International Airport and then going back to Canada. That is the only airline impacted right now. All other terminal flights that you might be leaving on today, tomorrow, they're all normal, on schedule, departing on time. There's no issues with terminal flights. So they are working to contact the FAA to get this clarified on the FAA websites. And again, I know it creates a lot of confusion because it just says closed to departures and arrivals for international flights. So if you have an international flight that's leaving from the terminal, I can understand how that would create some confusion. But again, according to the NFTA, who just told me 2 minutes ago, all terminal flights are departing as scheduled from Buffalo Niagara International Airport. This is only impacting Signature Aviation, which is a charter company, a private plane company, to and from the airport from Canada to Buffalo. So again, it's a very confusing situation when you see that, when a lot of people traveling today, obviously for the Thanksgiving holiday, so you're checking statuses of the airport, you're seeing what's unfolding in Western New York right now, so obviously you have a little bit of anxiety trying to figure out if your flight's leaving. Yes, all terminal flights leaving the airport are departing as scheduled right now, but the NFTA is saying you want to give yourself a lot of extra time because they are sweeping cars for security reasons. NFTA is saying a short time ago, give yourself 3 or more hours to get through the airport right now in order to arrive at the airport, get to your flights and things like that. So again, a little bit of confusion. The NFTA is working to connect with the FAA to get that clarified on the FAA's website, but again, all terminal flights leaving the airport are departing, including any international ones that may be scheduled. I have not memorized the entire departure schedule with everything happening, but I will try to do that, Scott and Kate.
Maybe by the next time we talk to you, Nate. We appreciate that. Speaking of the airport, that is where we find our Keelan Berrien this afternoon. He's joining us now with more on what's happening out there. Hi again, Keelan.
Hi, Kate. Yes, and like I said just a few minutes ago, and as promised, we're going to show you guys visuals inside the airport right now. I'm going to step out of the way here so Brad can continue to show you on. Right now, you're looking at that TSA line. It is extremely backed up right now, but as you just heard our Nate Benson report, those departing flights are still coming out on time. Once again, the spokesperson for NFTA, Kelly Khatib, is telling us to really come out here a couple hours beforehand. 3 to 3.5 hours. Now, once again, a few minutes ago, you saw us outside there where you saw NFTA police doing that thorough queen sweep. Dogs is searching for explosive material. Once again, we can confirm that NFTA Transit Police did say that they did not find anything that was alarming to them or stood out to them. But once again, as we learned more along the way, we will, and once again, we can hear from what Kelly has to say for herself.
We haven't received any threats to our system, but because of the events that are unfolding at the Rainbow Bridge, we are just doing this out of the abundant precaution. Like you said, there are going to be additional screenings that travelers are going to go under. We have our airport explosive detection dogs who are going to be checking every single vehicle that comes in, because the number one thing that we are thinking about right now is the safety of all of our passengers and travelers.
Right, join us back live again. Once again, you're still seeing that TSA line. It's very backed up right now. Khatib, once again, is really encouraging, stressing everyone to come a few hours beforehand. Again, you heard our Nate Benson report. All departing flights are leaving out on time, but again, you still want to give yourself that extra time. We was outside where the NFTA Transit Police were doing that thorough queen sweep for any explosive device. Again, they reported they did not find anything that stood out to them or that was alarming to them. But once again, as we learn more about the situation, unless we learn along the way, we will update you along the way as well. Kate, we're going to send it right back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you, Keelan. And you know, Scott, you just think about the fact of so many people either trying to go home for the holiday or people waiting for people.
They're stressed as it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's busy under normal circumstances, so certainly much busier today.
All right, so while we're waiting for our next story, the bottom line is, if you're just joining us now, we're Governor Kathy Hochul. This is a live look where she will be speaking. I'm told it is a state park. I'm not sure which state park she is speaking at, but that is a live shot right there. They are getting her ready to be able to speak and inform us a little bit more. But if you are just joining us now, we do not know the explosion at the Rainbow Bridge, whether it was a reckless driver or anything else, anything nefarious. We just don't know that. So we don't want to state anything other than that. Could be a reckless driver, could be something nefarious. You could look at Twitter and see all sorts of things. We just don't know yet. We're waiting for the FBI and all of the top authorities to be able to tell us, and we're waiting for Governor Kathy Hochul, who was there at the state park. She's preparing to make some comments, and we should hear from her, hopefully, very soon.
Some of the things we do know that 2 people died in this. We also know that a Border Patrol officer was injured but was treated at the scene and is okay.
And we also know that the 4 bridges, you have the Rainbow Bridge, the Whirlpool Bridge, the Lewiston-Queenston Bridge, and of course the Peace Bridge. They are all still closed at this hour. Okay, I'm also told in my ear right now that we have some new witness sound from earlier today. The event happened around 11:30 this morning, just before noon. Let's listen to what the witness had to say.
I work for Gray Line, and we're laid off this time of year. There was 2 witnesses I know of, myself and another guy, and I came down to the One Niagara building to see how the sales guy was doing. And I closed the door to my car, and about 30 feet from me, I seen something airborne. I first thought it was an airplane. It looked like slow motion. And I said, my God, it's a car. And it's a vehicle, and it's flying through the air. He hit the concrete barrier probably right at the signal, God knows how many thousands of feet before the bridge. It went airborne. The vehicle began to turn sideways and went under something overhead, and then it hit something over there. And my prayer was just, please don't let any of the officers, get hit over there. And then all of a sudden, black smoke, no explosion. We all heard, the people in the building heard it, the metal on metal. Then all of a sudden I saw black smoke and then fire. There was no explosion, just the black smoke. And then there was so much smoke, it was unbelievable. After a while, it probably took 5 minutes for law enforcement to get here. But that's exactly what happened.
How fast did you estimate that he was going?
Well, the other fella, the guy that drives the cab, says he thinks he was doing 100 miles an hour coming down this street here. But to me, it was like slow motion when the vehicle was up in the air. And he was just airborne. I can't imagine how it got that high up, so he had to be doing quite a speed for that to happen.
What was going through your mind?
Pardon me?
How were you feeling?
It was like a movie. It's strange because I can play it in my mind very fast or in slow motion. And it's like a movie. I'm saying, oh my. And then all of a sudden I see a vehicle. It looked like an SUV, but who knows what I saw. But it was a vehicle and it was in the air.
How close would you say it was to where the bridge inspectors would be?
When the vehicle went airborne, it was down by this signal. It hit something like a concrete thing that goes on an angle, and then it went up. It was up in the air, and it started to turn sideways, and then it went in. At that point, I was just praying that it didn't hit any of the Border Patrol officers.
So you didn't see it actually strike where their booths are or anything like that, or?
It went underneath, and then metal hitting metal. That's exactly what I heard. It was metal on metal.
Where were you at the time?
I was right across the street. There's the One Niagara building directly across the street. It was like it was 50 feet away from me, but that's exactly what happened. That car did not get on top. It was airborne.
Were the flames shooting up in the sky?
No, it was black smoke, and then they weren't shooting up. It was like a bonfire or something like that. Then they eventually did get higher. They started out low, and then the flame got bigger and bigger, and then it went down. And by that time, the fire department, then I think they wanted everybody out of the area.
Could you see how many people were actually in the vehicle?
No, I could not see how many were in there. It was just airborne. The only thing I remember is it turned sideways and then hit over there. And at that point, don't let it hit anybody else. So this is the truth.
What did you do after the fact? Were you just standing there in shock?
I'm still a little bit shaky. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was just like something you see in Hollywood or something. And it's strange because I can replay it either in slow motion or fast. But it looked at that point when the vehicle was in the air, it was like it was moving 30 or 40 miles an hour.
And leaders across the area here, of course, are responding, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Canada. Here is what he had to say today about what he is doing.
We are in close contact with U.S. officials and will continue to work closely with them. We will continue to be engaged. We will provide updates. Updates I can give right now is there are 4 border crossings that are right now closed: Rainbow Bridge, Whirlpool Bridge, Queenston Bridge, and Peace. Additional measures are being contemplated and activated at all border crossings across the country. We are taking this extraordinarily seriously.
All right, there, our microphones are on now. Let's go back out to Nate Benson now. I believe there is some new information into the newsroom, right, Nate?
Looking at my email right now because this is all coming in very quickly, but NYTEC reporting that the Peace Bridge has been cleared. I do believe we're trying to get a live picture of the Peace Bridge right in a moment or so, but NYTEC saying that the Peace Bridge has been cleared. Now, historically, we get a lot of emails from NYTEC on a daily basis, hourly basis, especially just with so much traffic in Western New York. Generally, when a scene is cleared, shortly thereafter, things would be reopening. But again, as you can see right now, there is no, there's some lights in the distance, but it doesn't look like the bridge is actually reopened yet. Oh, look at that. The traffic is coming right towards me right now. So again, obviously unfolding live on television, as you can see, the Peace Bridge appears to be reopened at this time. So again, perhaps an indication that the border crossings, we're going to see some further news in the next few minutes. But as you can see very clearly in this very lovely live picture, Peace Bridge traffic is reopened and flowing right now in and out of the United States. So again, a lot of moving parts here. Obviously, the Rainbow Bridge still closed at this time. No word on the Lewiston or the Whirlpool Bridge at this time either. Scott and Kate.
Thank you very much, Nate. Now, Kate, that is a great sign right there that we're seeing traffic moving in both directions there on the Peace Bridge. Perhaps that is a good sign that things may normalize over the next few hours. We're still waiting for the official word from the FBI as to what occurred here. Let's go to Lance Mellon right now. Lance, you're the man who knows all the things about traffic. What can you let us know?
Okay, so yeah, just like Nate said, happening live as we speak. Behind me is the U.S. Inspection Plaza of the Peace Bridge. Now, this is getting to the States. So these are Canadians coming to the States that are now able to enter. Now, we're just going to keep an eye on this and see how long these lines are actually going to be, because I know the QEW was backed up for over a mile for folks trying to get to this border crossing. So right now, it looks relatively light for normal sedans or trucks trying to get in, but those semi-trucks are starting to back up a bit. As far as I know, this exit, it looks like it's still closed. This is exit 9 off the 190 North getting to the Peace Bridge. Maybe they haven't gotten word yet, or maybe they're just trying to take things slow, but they are still on the scene, not allowing folks to get off that Porter Avenue and Peace Bridge exits. Now, I wanted to show you real quick up in Lewiston as well. As far as I know, the Lewiston-Queenston Bridge has not yet been reopened. This is where the blockade is, where they are stopping folks from going to the international crossing. You can see a lot of semi-trucks are still on that right shoulder, not moving at all, as folks have to exit off that last Niagara Scenic Parkway exit, getting to the bridge. But the Rainbow Bridge, still just monitoring that blockade. Obviously, it might be longer until this crossing is open, but this is the scene I have here at the NFTA, the only camera currently of the Rainbow Bridge. Our cameras that normally we can check on the bridge up over the falls all say this. They're unavailable at this time, so we'll just have to wait and see when these cameras are back online. But the good news is the Peace Bridge has been reopened, and we'll just be monitoring those border delays as the day continues. Scott and Kate, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Lance. Appreciate it. And this is, we can't overlook this, Kate. That is really good news to see the Peace Bridge opening. We're going to continue to look at the Rainbow Bridge. Of course, that probably won't be opening for a while as they're continuing to work around what occurred there. You have the Whirlpool Bridge and the Lewiston-Queenston Bridge, which we're keeping close eyes on as well, to let you know, because a lot of folks really want to get to grandma's house, you know, on both sides of the border, Canadian and United States.
They sure do. And there's been this ripple effect as well at the airport, where there is a long wait out there. Keelan Berrien joining us now with more on people trying to get where they'd like to go. Keelan.
Yeah, Kate, people are definitely trying to get to where they go. You know, it's literally the day before Thanksgiving, so this event could not have happened on any worse day than today before. But as you can just see behind me here, that is TSA. I'm going to step out of the way here so Brad can continue to just show you all what's going on. That line coming outside of TSA at this point now, but we do like to report, as you heard from my Nate Bitsits minutes ago, that every flight departing here is still departing out on time. There have been no delays. NFTA spokesperson Kelly Khatib has told me that thorough clean sweep that the NFTA Transit Police were doing, as well as those explosive searching dogs were doing, The search for it is going to be intermediate. So instead of every car being thoroughly swept and searched, it's going to be about every other car. But as you see right now, they kind of stopped that right now. We kind of made our way back into the airport now. But once again, everything is all clear. All departing flights will be back to normal schedule. They have not been delayed, as our Nate Vincent has reported. But later on tonight, you will hear a little bit more from my Kelly Khatib. But as far as we learned more updates along the way, we will keep updating you as we find out more about this situation. But reporting out from the Buffalo Niagara Airport, Keelan Berrien, Channel 2 News.
Thank you, Keelan. And you think about the human element of all this for so many different ways, whether people are traveling or trying to get somewhere, but also going back to the witness statements that we've heard today as well, and what these people just going on about their day saw and experienced, and you hear a lot of the same kinds of things. I felt like I was watching a movie.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that too. The gentleman who said he was a witness, he told us he was a witness to what he saw. He said the car was traveling at a very high rate of speed. He said it was like a scene out of Hollywood. We're going to replay it for you in just a few moments. He said it went airborne. It looked like it was a Chrysler, possibly a 300. That's what he, no, that was another witness, I'm sorry. But this vehicle went airborne. There was no explosion, he said. He just saw fire and then smoke. But he said it was like something out of Hollywood. He couldn't believe it. So it remains the question is, was it just a reckless driver driving at a high rate of speed that ended up colliding into the border area? Or was it something nefarious? We don't know, and we're waiting for Governor Kathy Hochul. She is here. We had a live shot earlier. She's going to be speaking to the press shortly from a state park here locally. And I believe, what are we doing now? We're going to Ron, did you say?
We're going to go to Ron Plants. Okay. And something you said, Ron, earlier really struck me. You used the word shattered when you talked about the car and its state.
All right, Ron is still working. There he is. Ron, it's Scott and Kate. Can you hear us? All right. Looks like we're having a little microphone issue there, though. All right, so here is what we know as we're waiting for Governor Kathy Hochul to address the press. 2 occupants of a vehicle are dead. It collided at a high rate of speed going into the Rainbow Bridge at 11:30 this afternoon. All sorts of federal law enforcement agencies have been called into the scene, the FBI, the ATF, and the Bureau of Homeland Security. And we're still waiting for official words. Ron is back now. Ron, the best thing is he's right there on the scene. He's just a short distance from the Rainbow Bridge where it occurred. Ron, what's the latest?
Yeah, Kate, I think you were trying to ask a question about the vehicle, apparently a description of it being shattered. We were hearing that from an eyewitness, a gentleman from Kitchener, Ontario, who was walking around here with his wife. They're here in the falls, a little vacation time, and they said they witnessed this incident. He said that the vehicle, with moving at that high rate of speed, when it hit some kind of a structure, like a fence-like structure is the way he described it, right near the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge. And he said that's when he heard the explosion, saw the explosion with the flames shooting up into the air, and saw the smoke. He was the one that told us that apparently there wasn't much left of the vehicle, in his opinion, from what he could discern at that point. Again, we have no confirmation of anything from federal authorities as to what exactly they saw. Just that statement again from the FBI saying that this was a vehicle explosion. So hopefully at this press conference upcoming at some point soon with Governor Hochul and perhaps federal authorities, we've seen a number of them actually leaving the scene here, and perhaps they're heading to that other site where they're going to hold the press conference just a little ways north of the downtown area here in Niagara Falls, and perhaps there we'll get a better explanation as to what happened. So that is the situation as far as we know right now. Again, as you referred to it, Scott, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms came in here. The federal investigators, and they are on scene. We earlier had seen the Erie County Bomb Squad, as well as the recreational vehicle for Erie County Emergency Management, all lending their efforts. Also, of course, the Niagara County Sheriff, state police, various entities here on scene to assist Niagara Falls, and of course Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and all those entities also on scene. And again, just vehicles coming in and out of here constantly to this scene. That bridge has been closed off now for some time. I guess, again, we're hearing that this incident happened about 11:30. Photojournalist Franco Ardito and I got here maybe about 12:30 or so, and I will tell you, even just seeing on the 190, excuse me, as we were coming up on Grand Island en route to this scene, we saw three apparently unmarked Homeland Security vehicles with those flashing lights moving at a very high rate of speed right around us coming up to this scene. So that is as all these investigators, all these law enforcement entities were converging on this scene to determine exactly what happened here and making sure that they had the proper response. So that is, again, the situation we're seeing here in Niagara Falls, and we'll wait for word on exactly what more they can tell us in terms of what exactly happened here about 11:30 at this location here with the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls. Back to you both in the studio right now.
All right, Ron Plants reporting for us tonight. Ron, thanks. And the fact of the matter is, it could have just been a reckless driver driving at a high rate of speed. We don't know the exact reason why this occurred just yet.
We do know that there's been a lot of fallout from it in a number of places, including at the airport. With so many details, there's also been a lot of confusion. Nate Benson has been sorting through that for us. Nate, what do you got for us?
Yeah, a little bit of a kerfuffle, so to speak, with the FAA and the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. So the FAA is saying that the airport is closed to all departing and arriving international traffic, and there's an asterisk that needs to be applied to that statement. So I talked to the NFTA, Kelly Khatib, the spokesperson over there. All terminal traffic, so any terminal traffic heading to and from the airport, is still arriving and departing on time as it normally would. The only thing that's impacted right now is Signature Aviation. That is a charter aviation company, private planes, private rentals. So unless you rented a plane to travel this weekend, your departures and arrivals from Buffalo Niagara International Airport are going to be fine as of right now. But there is a heightened sense of security at the airport right now. NFTA using extraordinary caution right now. They are screening vehicles as they arrive to the airport. So right now they're saying arrive about 3 hours ahead of time. Obviously a lot of people flying right now for the Thanksgiving holiday. So just make sure that you are giving yourself a lot more extra time than you normally would for the travel, even on a normal holiday, assuming everything else didn't happen with the border crossings and things like that. So another issue, the Peace Bridge is now reopened. NYTEC sending out an alert a short time ago saying the scene was clear. We saw a live video a short time ago of traffic flowing on the Peace Bridge as well. So it seems like this scene is sort of widening out a little bit, softening. That bridge is reopened. As you can see right now, that traffic is flowing there on the Peace Bridge. We haven't gotten confirmation yet that the Whirlpool or Lewiston bridges are reopened at this time. But right now, the Rainbow Bridge is also closed because they're processing the scene that's happening there. But as you see, the Peace Bridge is reopened. So things are starting to soften a little bit as we hopefully learn more. We're waiting on a press conference from Kathy Hochul and other officials, hopefully starting in a short time, when we will hopefully learn more about what actually occurred here. And I know it can be frustrating as a viewer when we're coming on here and saying, we just don't know, but we simply don't know. And you're seeing a lot of response, a lot of agencies on scene at this time: Homeland Security, FBI, Joint Terrorism Task Force, New York State Police, Customs and Border Patrol, the New York City Police has sent crews up here as well. So of course, when you hear that, you certainly as a viewer would jump to conclusions, but we just simply don't know what happened. As my colleagues have been reporting, from eyewitness accounts, there was a vehicle at a high speed approaching the border. Then there was a crash, a fire, and an explosion. So we don't know if this was just a reckless driver, like Scott had mentioned a short time ago, or something else. We will learn that from Governor Hochul and federal officials, hopefully in the next few minutes here when we get that press conference going. But as you can see, a little bit now, the softening of this situation, as I've been kind of referring it to, we're seeing the Peace Bridge traffic right now. All departures and arrivals from the terminal at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport are arriving and departing on time. The only impact at the airport is Signature Aviation, which is a charter airway. So again, a lot of moving parts. We're hopefully getting more information shortly from government officials. Scott?
Good. Nate Benson reporting tonight from our newsroom. All right, we're going to take a live look right now. This is where Governor Hochul is preparing to speak. We are monitoring that right now. That's a live shot right now, and we will listen to hear what she has to say. She has arrived apparently, and will be speaking momentarily, we hope.
Yeah, we'll bring you those comments as they happen here. And I think it's kind of a good word that Nate was using there, softening,
Soften.
talking
I love
about,
that.
yes, talking about the Peace Bridge being back open again to traffic and maybe a sign that that's a positive direction.
Absolutely. And I think it definitely is positive. As Nate was talking, we saw the Peace Bridge open up live, coming in and out of the United States and in and out of Canada. So we still have 3 bridges that are still closed, but one open, the Peace Bridge. That is a good sign. Obviously, the Rainbow Bridge probably won't open up for quite a while, but the other 2 bridges, if they start to open up and we see it softening already at the airport, that's a good sign, folks. That's a very, very good sign. So we're still waiting to hear once again from the feds. We're going to go back to Ron Plants right now once again. He is just a little distance from the Rainbow Bridge where the incident occurred. Ron.
Yes, Scott, actually, we're here at 3rd and Niagara Streets in the city of Niagara Falls, in the downtown area. And again, you can see all those flashing lights still behind me there at the actual entrance to the Rainbow Bridge. But I did hear my colleague Nate Benson, and you were discussing that he said the situation appeared to be, quote, softening a bit. I don't know if we could exactly say that here, but I would say that it just seems a bit calmer here now at this point. Obviously, you see all those law enforcement agencies with the vehicles down there with the flashing lights behind me, still very much on scene here. But again, perhaps we're not seeing quite as much activity. We did see actually some people actually leaving. Homeland Security, perhaps vehicles, things of that nature, who are actually leaving this area. Perhaps they're going up north to a location further up north from the downtown here, where we think that press conference is going to be held by Governor Hochul and perhaps, hopefully, federal authorities coming up shortly. We were told that might be in an area called the Vaux Woods, which is a neighborhood north of the downtown area here in Niagara Falls. There is actually the Whirlpool State Park up in that area too. We actually noticed a number of DOT trucks that had trailers with those big lights, the spotlights, or not searchlights, but the big lights, floodlights, excuse me, that they have on the back of those trailers that they're able to illuminate an area. Sorry, it's a little cold up here, so that's the problem with my throat. But yeah, we happen to notice them. Perhaps they are providing lighting for a press conference, or perhaps further lighting to help investigators if they're still looking for any information here. We did obviously notice, it was really interesting, I can't remember the exact time, but it was this afternoon when that vehicle with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms pulled in here. I remember when I first came to this area with the Slepian shooting, that investigation going back into the 90s there, that we actually saw that vehicle there at that time in terms of trying to do that part of the investigation. And that indicated obviously the level of investigation and the presence of these federal agents to try to help determine what exactly was going on with that case, the assassination of Dr. Slepian, as you may recall, and perhaps with this case too, trying to make sure that they know also what was going on. And of course, we saw their presence too, of course, with the terrible fire with firefighter Jason Arno and his fatality situation there on Main Street in Buffalo. ATF was very much a part of that investigation as well. And they are on scene here in Niagara Falls right now as we speak. Also, we had seen earlier the Erie County bomb squad that had come in here along with some of their emergency management people to help Niagara Falls and assist them. The Niagara County Sheriff obviously has a presence here, as well as the FBI, we're sure, putting out that statement. Also Border Patrol, normally Customs and Border Protection. Again, we've heard, and I know we keep recapping here, but we have heard through our colleagues who have been in touch with NBC News and other entities that we were hearing that there were 2 individuals that were in this speeding car that had come down Niagara Street here, approaching tonight the Rainbow Bridge. So again, we'll wait to see what more information we get. We'll turn it right back to you in the studio right now.
All right, Ron Plants reporting. My colleague Mary Alice Demla joins us now here on set, and I guess we are still waiting for Governor Kathy Hochul to join us.
That's right. I mean, an unprecedented day in Western New York. I mean, we're no stranger to terrorist activities, certainly, and we've had our share of investigations here in Western New York, but I just got off the phone with Peter Ahern, who's the former FBI agent in charge. In a few minutes, he's going to share with us some insight on the actual investigation. What is the FBI and other support agencies doing on the scene right now to try and figure out what happened today? And again, we've had a stellar team, yourself included, Scott, Claudine, Kate, and Ron, Keelan, Nate, and Heather, doing exemplary work in the field, getting the information that the FBI is gathering at the same time from eyewitnesses, anyone who was there, to give an account of what they saw, what they heard before, during, and after the actual event. So Mr. Ahern will share that with us while we're waiting to hear from the governor, too. And again, I think it was alarming for a lot of people to hear that she was immediately coming back home here. So you knew that this was an incident that the authorities were very concerned about. I heard you mention that maybe it was someone having a medical event that sped into that restricted area. But at this point, the FBI is being very cautious making any kind of statement as to what it was just yet.
Yeah, it takes time for all of these organizations to work together. They have Canada there also. They want to make sure that they get the investigation right. And it just comes at a time when people are on edge, obviously. You had the head of the FBI talking about terrorism last week, Kathy Hochul mentioning it today about New York State. So a lot of people were, a little antsy about what occurred there. It could have been a reckless driver. It could have been a medical event. It could have been terrorism. We don't know exactly what it is. And that's what's frustrating for a lot of people texting and emailing, but we don't know yet officially. So we are waiting, and it's 5:02 right now, and we're just waiting for the authorities to tell us exactly what it was. Let's hope for the best, that it was nothing nefarious.
There is no question. Everyone is on high alert because of the state of things in the world and just our political discourse in general. I think a lot of people find unnerving. But at the same time, I think we can take solace in the fact that these professionals, these law enforcement professionals, have really jumped right into action and begun the investigation in earnest. You heard Ron report on how quickly there were so many other agencies responding and looking into what happened here, the swift action at the airport, at the Amtrak station as well. I mean, really, all borders, all area pathways in and out of our area really are being scrutinized. To keep people safe, and they're thinking in a forward way because this is the area that we live in. And certainly, I think that there have been a lot of drills that all the law enforcement agencies have done for a case just like this.
All right. Also, it is basically the busiest travel day of the year. Let's head out now to the Buffalo Niagara International Airport, where our Keelan Berrien is standing by. He has the latest from the airport. Keelan, what's happening there?
Hey, Scott and Mary Alice. Just as you just see behind me here, things have really calmed down a lot here at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. Brad is going to continue to show you guys the scene here as I step out of the way here. But literally minutes before this, before what you're seeing here, the TSA line was stretched very far, way out of the double gates, as you can see there, the standard screening sign there. Right now, as Nate Benson had reported, all departing flights are still leaving out on time. There are no delays or any departures. We spoke to a NFTA spokesperson, Kelly Khatib, a little bit more, and she was telling us there is heightened security inside and outside the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. Now, earlier, just literally an hour ago, we were just outside watching NFTA Transit Police do thorough clean sweeps with its explosive detecting sniffing dogs, really doing a thorough search of travelers coming inside and dropping off travelers, and travelers coming inside the airport as well too. It's still encouraged to come at least a couple hours before that your departing flight has arrived here. But as you can just see, again, things have really calmed down here a lot. Again, flights are still leaving out on time. Later on, we will be meeting up with the NFTA spokesperson, Kelly Khatib, and she can tell us a little bit more about everything that's going on along the way. But Scott and Mary Alice, we're going to send it right back to you guys inside the studio.
Keelan, thanks very much. When we were coming into the station early this afternoon, there was obviously a big backup in and around the Peace Bridge. I know that there was an accident not too far from there, unrelated obviously, but traffic with especially the truck traffic that was being diverted or just idling, waiting to see if the bridge was going to be opened up, caused a lot of delays.
It sure did. And I believe we're going to check in on traffic right now too. We're going to head out to the NFTA and see what's happening there.
Hey, thanks a lot, Scott and Mary Alice. So behind me is the Canadian Inspection Plaza of the Peace Bridge that we know has been reopened, but I believe this is breaking right now. The Lewis and Queenston Bridge looks like it has been reopened. So these are those semi-trucks that were pulled over on the side of the road that didn't really know what to do. The blockade has moved up in Lewiston, so now they are just crawling along, trying to get to the crossing. And I do have a shot, I believe, of the Canadian, yes, this is the Canadian Inspection Plaza. These are American drivers getting to the States here. So again, another good sign. This is our second crossing that has opened. The lines are very minimal right now, but folks are just starting to get to those inspection booths. So really good news up in Niagara County. So, the second opening has really just happened seconds ago. So very good news as we make progress. I believe the exit 9 of the 190 North has been reopened as well. Last time I checked in, this was closed getting to the Peace Bridge on the top right of your screen, but the Porter Avenue and Peace Bridge exit, as you can see, is completely reopened for folks trying to get to Canada. But just another quick look at the blockade up on Niagara Street in Niagara Falls at the Rainbow Bridge. Still heavy security. Just avoid that area right now if you can. I know a lot of folks may be vacationing or traveling, seeing Niagara Falls at this holiday, this time of year. It's always beautiful, but this is an area you definitely want to avoid right now. But 2 borders opened, and we'll be waiting on that Whirlpool border as well. Scott and Mary Alice, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, Lance, thank you very much. I like the word that Nate Benson used earlier. It's softening a little bit when you see these international crossings open up. You begin to think, okay, somebody had to allow that to occur, and for that to occur, they had to have felt things were calming down a little bit. So, I mean, you just have to look at all of the evidence and you have to say, okay, this is a good sign, but we'll continue to wait to hear from what the governor has to say.
Yeah, unquestionably, they are going to take their time in making sure that every location is secure and that they're relatively confident that there is no imminent threat right now. So we can glean a little bit of hope and consolation from that news, when I expect that the governor will have more to share with us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're waiting for her. She is at the DeVoe Woods State Park. I believe we have a live shot from there. We can possibly bring it up if we can in the control room. That's where we're waiting for Kathy Hochul. But right now we're going to listen to Nate Benson one more time. Nate is in the newsroom with the latest. Nate?
Alice, hey Scott and Mary Alice. So let's kind of reset the scene a little bit. Obviously, a lot of information has been coming through for the last few hours, and it's a situation of here's what we know and there's a lot we don't. But here's what we know. Earlier today, a vehicle crashed into the checkpoint structure of the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls at a very high rate of speed. You heard those eyewitnesses kind of give a detailed account of what had happened. 2 people in that vehicle did die. 1 Border Patrol officer was injured at the scene. They were not hospitalized. They were treated and did not need to go at the scene. But, I think the reason why a lot of people have interest in the story is because there was a very quick response from not only state but federal authorities as well. The FBI putting out that notice saying they are aware of a situation at the Rainbow Bridge. At that point, Governor Hochul put out a statement saying she is returning to Western New York to get briefed on the situation, and then obviously brief the media. We're waiting for that to start any moment now. And a lot of agencies on scene, ATF, Homeland Security, the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, New York State Police, U.S. Border Patrol. We just learned within the last hour that New York City sent up members from the NYPD. So you hear all of these agencies descending upon Western New York, you immediately think the worst, right? And we just simply don't know yet. The authorities have not told us what really has happened. All we know is a vehicle has crashed into the checkpoint, and I believe right now we're still waiting for Governor Hochul to start that press conference. So you just hear all of these agencies coming into the area. You immediately think a worst case scenario, as you see the video there of armored vehicles blocking and actually right now we're going to pause, and Governor Hochul speaking right now, so we're going to go to that press conference live right now.
I just returned from the scene of a horrific accident that led to a high level anxiety all the way from Western New York to Albany to Washington. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been wounded. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been injured. 2 people have been killed. 2 people have been in But before I describe the details, I want to be very, very clear to Americans and New Yorkers. At this time, there is no indication of a terrorist attack. Let me repeat that. At this time, there is no indication of a terrorist-involved attack here at the Rainbow Bridge in Western New York. At 11:27 this morning, a car going at a very high rate of speed crashed into a median at Niagara Street, just minutes from here. It's in the city of Niagara Falls, near one of the border crossings into Canada, the Rainbow Bridge. There are 4 border crossings here in Western New York. This is one of the busiest crossings, not just in Western New York, but along the entire U.S.-Canadian border. And it happens on the busiest travel day of the year. So naturally, in a time of heightened alert, everyone sprang into action. It crashed into a Customs and Border Patrol booth, and the car and the booth immediately exploded. Burst into flames. I saw the video of an airborne vehicle that was absolutely surreal. You actually had to look at it and say, was this generated by AI? Because it was so surreal to see how high in the air this vehicle went, and then the crash and the explosion and the fire. That video will be released very shortly. As I said, we're not aware of any threats to this area, but I state the caveat that the investigation is ongoing. If you can imagine, this vehicle basically incinerated. Nothing is left but the engine. The pieces are scattered over 13, 14 booths. So it is a large scene, and it's going to take a lot of time for our federal law enforcement partners, who are with me here today and I'll identify, to be able to piece together the real story, to identify the make of the car. Obviously, there is not a license plate. I've been briefed by law enforcement for the last hour. New York State Police, Colonel Andy Crow, Colonel Allen, other law enforcement officials. I've been joined by Andy Bowker, who's the special agent in charge of the Customs and Border Patrol. I was also briefed by the SAC from the FBI. Also is on the phone with Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas. The FBI Director, Christopher Bray, has reached out. The White House has reached out. My staff has been in communication with all of them. I spoke with Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, Congressman Higgins, local law enforcement, as well as local elected officials, because the world is watching to find out what happened here. And again, at a time when there's such high anxiety, stress levels are already high, and we've been on heightened alert since October 7th. That's why it's so important for me to stand here and tell the world, based on what we know at this moment, and again, anything can change, there is no sign of terrorist activity with respect to this crash. We've identified that this is a local individual, a Western New Yorker. 2 individuals died in the vehicle. The Border Patrol individual working in the booth was injured. The booth literally protected that individual. They went to the hospital with minor injuries and have been released. There is also, again, the busiest travel day of the year, there's a major disruption. And first of all, our cross-border travel. Right now, the Rainbow Bridge will remain closed while law enforcement continues investigation. Again, this is a large, widely scattered scene, and we're trying to identify all the elements to make sure that there is no unforeseen situations that we need to address before we can open again to the public. We're going to make sure the public is safe before they go back on the Rainbow Bridge. Also making sure the structural integrity of the booths. Also very important, our state DOT will be involved in that as well. The Whirlpool Bridge and Lewiston Queenston Bridge opening early this evening, probably open by now. Can anybody confirm that? We are. We're open now, okay. They are open now. There's been a lot of people trying to get across. I appreciate that. The Peace Bridge, which was open, is already reopened a half an hour ago. For those traveling by train, unfortunately, Amtrak has temporarily suspended its cross-border service between New York State and Canada. And the Buffalo Airport, despite early reports, the Buffalo Airport was never closed and everything is normal. Domestic flights are still active. There has been no cessation in service there. What I want to do at this time is extend my extreme gratitude to all of our partners, Customs and Border Patrol, Homeland Security, FBI, our state police, local sheriffs, Niagara County, Erie County, all stepped up to assist in trying to identify what exactly transpired here beginning at 11:27 a.m. this morning. They gave up their time from their families. They showed up. They reminded us that there are people who put on a uniform every single day, put themselves in harm's way. The people out there on that bridge, in the immediate aftermath of what happened, unknown, the source, the cause of this explosion, were out there doing their jobs. So I want to pause to give them just the gratitude of a governor and 20 million New Yorkers who sleep better at night because of their willingness to do this. They run toward danger. They should be with their families today, but they will not be. This investigation will go on for a number of days, and that's why we will not have any further answers at this time as to the individuals involved, the deceased, any motivation, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. But at this time, we just need to dial down the temperature right now. And that's what I plan to do as governor, just let everybody know. All is well, we're investigating, more information could arise, but based on the preliminary investigation, no sign of terrorist involvement in the horrific explosion that occurred here in Western New York. Any questions?
Governor Hochul, can you explain what you're basing that determination on, that there was no terrorist activity here, and instead calling this a horrific accident?
That's based on my briefings with experienced law enforcement, with the FBI, Homeland Security, and the Customs and Border Protection. They brought experts. They're still analyzing this, but there's been no indication based on any online threats, anyone taking credit for anything, all the usual areas you look to identify whether or not there's a group involved. At this time, you're gonna hear me say this at this time, a dozen times, because it is still unfolding, but I didn't want to leave the public with a lot more anxiety than they need to have at this time.
So I just want to be perfectly clear, there is no evidence to show at this time that this was a terrorist activity.
There is no evidence at this time that this was a terrorist activity. And that's what I want to make very clear to the public, just to calm everybody down. It's really important because based on what's happening in other parts of the world, everybody is on edge. And this is an international border. And we've always felt the vulnerability there. But this was I won't call it an accident. It has not been determined to be an accident. You don't know whether the driver was intentional in how they drove. We do not know that. All I know is there was a horrific accident, well, I won't call it an accident, a horrific incident, a crash, an explosion, loss of life, but at this time, no known terrorist connection.
Governor, we saw agents canvassing the neighborhood, specifically near the casino and on Niagara Street. Is there a reason why? Our sources are telling us this couple may have left the casino and were on their way to Toronto.
I can't confirm where the car originated at this time, but there is suspicion that the vehicle may have originated in that vicinity.
I'm sorry, can you just clarify of Niagara Falls or where that car may have originated?
Within the city.
Of Niagara Falls?
Not saying that's a local resident. I'm saying that it's a Western New York resident who was most likely in that vicinity prior to the high rate of speed, extraordinarily high rate of speed that led to the crash into the median that sent the vehicle airborne. It's rather extraordinary.
Time for one more? Can you just walk us through the idea, the decision to close all border crossings in Western New York? What went into that, and can you walk us through the sheer magnitude of that kind of decision?
I'm going to turn it over to the representative from the Customs and Border Patrol, special agent in charge. That would be Aaron Balker.
Yeah.
Would you like to address the decision made to close the border?
Thank you, Governor. I think anytime you have an incident like this, you want to take an abundance of precaution to protect not only the staff and personnel, but also the public. So you make a quick decision like that, and then to go back based on the totality of circumstances, working with law enforcement partners to reopen, we are reopened.
Can you walk us through the man who was hurt, the agent, was it a customs agent or was it a border protection?
It was a Customs and Border Protection officer. Out of an abundance of precaution, based on some minor injuries, went to the hospital, was treated and released.
And what have your conversations with that person been?
I'm not going to get into any other further details at this time.
A veteran of the force, or how long?
Just going to leave it at that it was an employee.
Have you ruled out suicide?
I'm sorry?
Have you ruled out potential
It's an ongoing investigation, so we're not going to say anything else at this time.
Did you say how many people were injured at the scene? Just the one, or was there multiple injuries?
From our employees, it was one employee.
I think that's something, I mean, it's something we should be grateful for. When you look at the scale of the scene, of how far the pieces of this vehicle exploded and scattered, the fact that other people in other vehicles, and there's been some damage to other vehicles, I mean, you can imagine the lines were long. Many booths. This is not an isolated late-night occurrence. This is the busiest travel day of the year at 11:27 in the morning. People are on the road, so it was a very congested area, and thank God there was no one else injured. It could have been much more cataclysmic, and so, but thank you all for coming out. I appreciate your attention and helping us let the public know to dial back the anxiety associated with this event. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Bowker, really quick, are the booths secured?
Governor Kathy Hochul wrapping up her news conference there. And that is a big sigh of relief, a huge sigh of relief for all of the viewers out there, everybody in Western New York. There was a very high level of anxiety, obviously, because of what's going on in the world and what the warnings that she gave in New York State also.
Just hearing her call it a horrific accident right off the top, you know, immediately signaled to those of us who cover these types of events that they were no longer suspecting terrorism. But still leaving that caveat that the investigation is not over at this time. They don't believe it was a terrorist activity, but they have a lot of work to do to find out the motive and the circumstances that led up to that car traveling at such a high rate of speed going airborne before it hit that inspection booth at the bridge.
Yeah, the investigation is still ongoing. They're not aware of any other threats. So this is really, really good news. The borders are open. Still not sure about the Whirlpool Bridge, but Lewis and Queenston and the Peace Bridge have opened up. Obviously, the Rainbow has not yet. But of course, this is the busiest time of year, and everyone's minds went to the worst thing. And right now, the investigation is still ongoing. But as the governor said, at this time, there is no indication of a terroristic attack at all. But it did crash at a very, very high rate of speed. She said she saw some of the video and it was surreal is the word that she used.
That it almost looked like AI, if you can imagine, and that the car was incinerated.
Yeah.
So
just the engine left.
Yeah, that they're going to have a hard time poking through some of this evidence of what's left over, because you would expect them to check a license plate or a VIN number, you know, on the car itself. But the debris field is rather large. I think she said, she didn't give, I think, a number of feet, but 13 or 14 booths were involved where they had debris scattered throughout that whole area. So there's an awful lot to pick through and try and find some clues.
Right, and now it comes to, was it a medical emergency? Was it reckless driving? Was it suicide? We don't know. The fact of the matter is we don't know. We may never know the exact reason behind this.
Yeah, she didn't explain how, but she did mention a local Western New York resident being involved. So who that is or how they were able to determine that person was a Western New York resident is yet to be revealed. But it sounds like the investigation is moving at a good speed, and hopefully we'll get some more answers from officials as the evening rolls on.
She also said there was no license plate, which I would love to have followed up and said, we wondered if there was no license plate prior to the accident, or whether there was no license plate because everything was incinerated at the scene. And it'll be interesting to see. There are such amazing professionals. When there is a car accident, when there are pieces left, they can just take the smallest little piece of the taillight and they can figure out the VIN number. And there's just ways that they know that we will never know, the experts, how to know exactly who was driving that vehicle.
And something else that helps law enforcement a great deal, and we report on it almost every day, is that there are a large number of cameras in that area. First of all, because it's an international border, but a lot of private businesses and homes and apartments, you know, have doorbells that record activity on the street. So that will help. That will obviously aid in their investigation, as well as all of the debris field and everything they find there.
And exactly what the governor mentioned is exactly what the individual, the eyewitness that Ron Plant spoke to earlier at the scene, it is exactly what he said. So that gentleman saw this whole thing happen, and hopefully we'll have it, if not in the next hour with Claudine Ewing or at us at 6 o'clock, tonight at 11. It's a 3-minute long eyewitness account, and it is mind-boggling the way he describes it.
Amazing. Sometimes the eyewitnesses do get it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see a lot of conflicting information.
Yes.
But we have much more on today's event and the investigation of it coming up on Channel 2 News first at 5. But right now we're going to take a short break.
Hi, I don't know what's.
Good evening and welcome back to Channel 2 News first at 5 as we continue our report on the incident that happened at the Rainbow Bridge today. I was just mentioning a little bit earlier that retired FBI agent in charge here in Buffalo, Peter Ahern, spoke with me a short time ago, and I asked him how the FBI starts the investigation into a scene.
I think you're going to find that there are going to be quick answers here, okay, because of exactly what you said. Also, you have a vehicle, you have a license plate, you have the VIN numbers, the vehicle identification numbers. They're going to be tracking the vehicle first to find out who rented it, where it was rented, while the investigation is going on to gather evidence in the explosion in the bomb radius area. But the cameras, the crossing, this is not something that's going to be, if somebody is run, we don't know who it is. You see that a lot with active shooters before they can identify them. I think you'll see quick identification and start to sort out whether or not this was a terrorist event. And again, the FBI always treats any kind of explosion initially with the assumption that it was a terrorist event and then work from there to see what happens.
So it unfolded exactly as he described. They got some quick answers right away, and one is that they no longer suspect that it's a terrorist event because they were able to rule that out based on the facts that the governor shared with us just a moment ago. And I also asked Ahern about cooperation that happens between the FBI and Canadian officials.
When I was in the Bureau up in Buffalo, the relationships with the Ontario Provincial Police, with the RCMP, and I think it's going to be the OPP responding right there. You know who's there, who you respond with, and the agents on the ground will be coordinating with their agents. And again, it's no surprises. I think they've trained with this. They've opened their lines of communications and are beginning to do a joint investigation. They will share the information. I mean, there will be a command post established if it hasn't been already. There will probably be one at headquarters in Buffalo with the teams in there coordinating the leads, coordinating the investigation, coordinating media, coordinating the analytics, and they will coordinate with their counterparts, probably up in OPP, or RCMP.
Yeah, Mr. Ahern was right on when he talked about the VIN number on the engine, since that's the only piece of the car
The vehicle was
that survived.
incinerated,
Yeah.
Governor Kathy Hochul said. So she said there was no license plate, an incredible fire coming out of it.
Right.
So only the engine was left, and they usually do put the VIN number on the engine.
That would tell them everything about ownership, and perhaps that's how they got the name of the Western New Yorker.
And we don't know if it was a rented vehicle or whether or not it was
Privately owned? Yeah, we don't know.
One thing we do know is that Ron Plants has been working very diligently all day long today. He's just outside the Rainbow Bridge up in Niagara Falls, and he has some of the latest for us. Ron, what have you learned?
Well, Scott, again, Scott Mary Ellis, we're at 3rd and Niagara Streets here in the downtown part of the Falls. And again, obviously, you see the law enforcement personnel still on scene behind me there with the Rainbow Bridge closed off. But I would have to say, I was discussing this with photojournalist Franco Ardito, who's been up here with me throughout the afternoon, that the scene seems to have calmed down considerably here. Perhaps that's a reflection of what Governor Hochul did say during that press conference held just a short while ago, explaining that, again, this was not believed to have been a terrorist incident. It is believed to have been an accident at this point. And in fact, as she had pointed out, it was a local driver who was apparently, or a local person who was at the wheel of that car that went down Niagara Street at this very high rate of speed and then crashed into a structure near the bridge inspection booths here for the Rainbow Bridge. So I believe we have now queued up a soundbite from the governor explaining more during that press conference, and we'll try to go to that right now if we can. Okay, apparently, I'm sorry, we do not have that sound queued up at this point. The governor, we were listening in as she was holding that press conference, and again, she stressed that despite some media reports that have been circulating, this is not believed to have been a terrorist attack. Apparently, from what she is getting from federal authorities, even, I guess, speaking to Secretary Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary in Washington, that this is believed, according to investigators, to have been an accident with a local person who was actually driving this vehicle for some reason, according to what we were told by eyewitnesses. That individual drove at an extremely high rate of speed down Niagara Street here, actually swerving and careening as that vehicle approached, again, some sort of structure there right near the inspection booths for the Niagara Falls bridge here, or the bridge here in Niagara Falls. This is the Rainbow Bridge, again, we're talking about, and it slammed into that fence. So, again, not a terrorist attack. apparently just a terrible accident that happened here. And again, putting everybody, I think in a more calm sense here from the scene at this point. So Scott and Mary Alice, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, Ron, thanks very much. We are joined now by a familiar face to Western New Yorkers. He is the former special agent in charge of the Buffalo FBI. Bernie Tolbert is joining us now. Bernie, nice to see you.
See you too. Thank you for having me on.
And thanks for joining us on the 5:30. We got the good news that it wasn't terrorism, that the governor said it was a horrific accident. What was happening between after this accident happened up until now? How did they come to this conclusion?
Well, first thing they're going to want to do is make sure that people are safe. So you're going to want to secure the area, make sure that there's no potential a potential threat coming, a second attack or a third attack, if indeed it was an attack. So you're going to want to do that first, and then you're going to start gathering as much intelligence as you can. Analyzing forensic evidence at the scene, but also you're going to want to start talking to sources. Law enforcement have their sources that they're going to want to reach out to, see if anyone has any inkling of this, if there's been any chatter, discussion that they can start to use to piece together exactly what went on.
You mentioned sources and chatter, and that's something that I think a lot of people tend to think that they can dismiss things online outright, but that really is a tool that the FBI and other agencies use to determine whether or not there is a threat or an imminent threat.
Absolutely. As a former law enforcement official, one of the things you like to think that you're very good at what you do, but I always say that no matter how good law enforcement is, there's oftentimes there's someone giving them a little nugget, a little clue that puts them on the right trail. They may not solve it for them, but there's a little bit of information that leads law enforcement towards where they need to go. So yeah, I think it's important to check with your human sources, to check with other kinds of sources, online, social media, see who's saying what, and anything that you can glean that might help you to start to piece together where things are and what's going on. It's going to be useful to law enforcement.
Bernie Tolbert, former FBI special agent in charge, thank you so much for joining us on the 5:30. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
It's interesting, isn't it, to
It really
hear,
is.
all the small tactics or things that, you would think were pretty pedestrian that we would overlook.
But they don't.
FBI does not. No, they follow up on every lead.
Right now, we're going to go to the FBI or to the U.S. Attorney's Office, where we're hearing from Trini Ross.
But we do have someone in mind for it, and we're working through it through the JTTF.
What leads you to believe that there's no threat of terrorism?
We do not have any derogatory information on this person that we've identified. We don't have any, we're scanning his social media. There's nothing there. We're still running a full investigation, so that's a preliminary assessment. But as of this time, there's no threat to our our area in Western New York. We have no information of anything of that nature. So we feel at this point that this might be just something that occurred. There's no larger picture here to look at for that.
The shutdown that occurred of all the bridges in the area, was that precautionary? Could you explain that a little bit?
Rose? Yep.
Yes, that was. Initially, it was precautionary. After we determined that there was no additional threat, we went ahead and worked with our partners to reopen the other 3 crossings within our area of responsibility. And they are all open as of this point.
In terms of operations at the Rainbow Bridge, not that an entire area was impacted, but the area that was hit by this vehicle, how are things going to proceed there, and are things going to be changing in any way?
Well, we have to wait for the scene to be investigated and cleared and ensure that the facility is safe for the traveling public and our officers, and once that's done and we assess that, we will reopen.
Is there a timeline for that? Or?
Unfortunately, I don't have that yet.
Okay.
I just wanted to take a brief second.
Who are you?
Oh, John Garcia, Sheriff of Erie County. Thank you for your vote. I just want to say this. We didn't know if it was a terrorist attack or not at the beginning. It turns out it's not. But the public could be, they have to know that all these people up here, we worked together as we did after the May 14th massacre, and that everybody works together from the federal to the state to the local level seamlessly. And a tragic accident occurred, and 2 lives were lost. However, every precaution, as CBP Director Brophy said, was taken to ensure the safety of the community. Now, I just want to let the community know now that we could go on with our lives, that there's no threats. We've received many calls. Tensions are high. You have the turkey trot coming up tomorrow. We have a Sabres game coming up on Friday. We received a lot of calls, and that goes to show how much on edge people are because of incidents that happen internationally and so forth. But I can't say enough about my law enforcement partners. Again, tremendous job.
Is there a lead agency right now? Who's in charge of the investigation?
FBI. And again, the investigation continues, as the FBI SAC said. We will continue to investigate, but our preliminary assessment of this situation is it was not terrorism related, but we will continue to stay vigilant. We will continue to make sure that the information we have is passed on to the public. But as the sheriff said, people can lower their heightened sensitivities to this, knowing that we do not believe this was a terrorist event.
Any information about any possible relation between the driver and the passenger of the vehicle?
We can't speak on that right now.
Did the car come from the casino?
Did the car come from the casino? Yeah. Right now, this is an open investigation. We do need to let notifications get through before we go into that type of information. All right, anything else? All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no. All right, that was a press conference at the U.S. Attorney's Office. That was U.S. Attorney Trini Ross. We also heard from Erie County Sheriff John Garcia. And as she mentioned, a preliminary assessment that it was not terrorism, but she did also offer that warning to be vigilant out there.
Absolutely. I think, though, everyone, breathed a sigh of relief, as they did when Kathy Hochul got to the microphone. Sheriff Garcia saying we can now all go on with our lives, which I think we were all holding our breath, waiting to hear exactly what this incident was. And by the way, we weren't sure about the third bridge or the fourth bridge, the lower Whirlpool Bridge in Niagara Falls. The Nexus Bridge is now open too. But it was interesting to hear that they've already scrutinized the social media of that driver, again, trying to look for any clue about what their possible motivation could be.
And so far, nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all, which is somewhat unusual, right? In this day and age, usually when there's some kind of incident, there's some clue that's readily available, but they're just going to do that slow, long look at every potential clue and see where it takes them.
And it was very important for officials to speak. It was important to hear from the U.S. Attorney, to hear from the sheriff, to hear from the governor. And one of the things the sheriff said is because tensions are high, people were concerned about the turkey trot.
Right.
We even got an email from those who are responsible for the turkey trot, but now the tensions can just lower, right? We're back to that, we can be calm. And also a Sabres game. People are crossing the border for that coming up on Friday. So if you can say some good news, because it's still, we have 2 people who were killed, right? In an explosion that happened at the Rainbow Bridge. But to know that this was not a terrorist attack is good news.
And it was an all hands on deck, as you heard. They activated all law enforcement agencies here in Western New York, as well as federal agencies and state agencies as well. It's a big investigation. It is going to be ongoing. But at the same time, too, in this era, we really can leave no stone unturned, but they acted so quickly.
And they had to.
Yeah, and to get the answers that we have in just a short amount of time, I think we can all be reassured in the job that these well-trained law enforcement officials do, and really put our minds at ease so that hopefully we can go on and enjoy our holiday over the next couple of days.
We're going to go into our newsroom right now. Our Nate Benson is standing by there. Nate?
Yeah, Claudine and Mary Alice, one thing Governor Hochul said about a half hour ago, the whole world is watching to find out what happened. And if you just look on social media, Rainbow Bridges trending, terrorist attack is trending, Peace Bridge, Canada, all trending right now on social media. And really that is the case. The whole world is waiting to find out what happened. And as Governor Hochul said, no indication of a terrorist attack. Obviously, still a very tragic scene. Claudine, as you pointed out a few minutes ago, 2 people lost their lives in this incident. And, Governor Hochul was very careful to say, they're not sure if it's an accident, an incident, if it was, they just don't know the circumstances of what caused that crash at this point. Now the investigation will pivot towards this. But again, the whole world is watching, because on Thanksgiving Eve, when you close 4 border crossings, in the United States after a crash and what at the time we thought was an explosion, obviously, everyone is going to, have concern about that, especially when you have, Homeland Security on scene, the FBI Joint Task Force, New York State Police, Custom and Border Patrol. You have all these agencies descending upon that scene, and obviously, it raised a lot of concern, not just here locally, but really across the world, as you see things play out across the world, and everyone, as Governor Hochul said, has a heightened anxiety when they see something like this. Here's what Governor Hochul said just a half hour ago during that press conference.
This is an international border, and we've always felt the vulnerability there. But this was I won't call it an accident. It has not been determined to be an accident. You don't know whether the driver was intentional in how they drove. We do not know that. All I know is there was a horrific accident. Well, I won't call it an accident. Horrific incident, a crash, an explosion, loss of life, but at this time, no known terrorist connection.
Governor Hochul went on to say this was a Western New York individual in that vehicle. Still a lot of unanswered questions. The booth, there was a Custom and Border Patrol officer that was impacted by this as well. They were briefly hospitalized but released because their injuries were very minor. But the officials during that press conference said the booth protected that border officer from a worse outcome. So, that is certainly fortunate. And again, as Governor Hochul repeatedly said, no evidence at this time of terrorist activity. And a lot of people, as this was unfolding, a lot of people asking, as they often do, what's the impact, now things like the turkey trot, the Sabres game. Sheriff Garcia a short time ago simply saying, we can go on with our normal day-to-day activities during this holiday weekend because this is a seemingly isolated incident, not needing further investigation at this time. Mary Ellis and Claudine.
All right, Nate, thank you. Yeah, miraculous that
Right.
with that big debris field that more people weren't hurt. So one thing we can take solace in, but still, like you said, 2 people who were in the car died.
And also knowing how it was the worker was protected by that booth.
Right.
The fact that he or she is okay because we don't know identity at this time, but that person is okay because of where they were located.
And you've got to think that in the coming days and weeks, they're going to start looking at the perimeter a little bit more closely and how to secure that. People have to come off of the bridge once they cross, so you can't completely close it down. But still, I know there's a lot of fortification built into those booths, bulletproof glass and large cement structures. And they did their job today.
We have some, and we have some other video that's just into our newsroom. We're going to look at this now. This actually shows what was taking place this
we
morning.
can see the car.
You can
See, they've
actually
got the
see.
circle
Follow
up on
that,
top.
everyone. And you see that car.
It was airborne. It goes right out of the
was.
shot, unfortunately, but you do see it leave the ground, and it's pretty incredible.
It really is.
We don't get to see the impact, but you get an idea of how quickly it was traveling.
Oh my.
And I don't know what it hit, whether it was a concrete median or something that sent it into the sky, but I think the governor described it aptly when she said it looked like AI.
Yeah, that is something to see. And the fact that we had an eyewitness who saw this actually take place, who talked to Ron Plants and was saying exactly what we saw. That's one thing about an eyewitness account. You listen to what they have to say, and when you hear what that person said and what we just saw, it matches up perfectly.
And I was actually expecting a much smaller car. When
Yeah.
they said it incinerated completely, I thought, well, maybe it was really a small vehicle, but it really wasn't.
No.
I mean, it looked like an average size sedan. And still, even though there was no explosive device, one wouldn't think that just a tank full of gas would cause it, to be incinerated like that. But they don't have much to go on.
Right. And you know what? We can be really fortunate that more people were not injured in this incident. I mean, when you think about something like that, this is a busy time of year, all these cars are crossing, and that one worker in that booth, once again, protected by that booth, that is an amazing story in itself right there.
Yeah, it's not a bad weather day, so you
Right.
get a lot of tourists around Niagara Falls. During college, I was a Gray Line of Niagara Falls tour guide, so you see people all season long, walking around. So many people could have been hurt.
Exactly.
So fortunately, a low number of casualties, but still, there are so many unanswered questions, and we expect that since law enforcement has been moving at such a clip, to get answers, to reassure the public, I'm guessing that throughout the night we'll have more information to share with you.
And I think we have to remind people the reason why there's been so much coverage and we've been on top of this is because we are talking about an international crossing. We are living in a time where people are fearful. There is terrorism in the world, and so you just don't know. And so that's why it was important to find out right off the bat from the governor, was it terrorism or was it not? She said it was not. It was a horrific accident. And even you heard from the U.S. attorney, she mentioned, Attorney Ross said, the preliminary assessment is that this was not terrorism, but we have to remain vigilant. And so their investigation now will definitely step up even more so because they're going to want to know who are these people, what was happening, what was going on, because they know that the public also wants to know.
Right, yeah, they have an after-action plan. So, I mean, they'll look at their own response as well as everything that they've learned today or that they continue to learn as the investigation proceeds. It has just gotten so sophisticated in many ways, how they look into every tiny lead that they would come across, whether it's a small mechanical piece or whether it's just doing the door-to-door, knocking on doors and following up on social media and finding out more about this vehicle.
Yeah, we're going to go out now to the airport because, as Mary Alice, you probably heard me say earlier, I was out there earlier today, and I think I was probably the third or fourth car that was checked. Stopped, turn off your car, the dog comes, goes around the car and checks everything. What's the latest at the airport now? Keelan Berrien is there now. Keelan?
Yeah, Claudine, for the latest right now, it seems as if everything has really calmed down here and things are going right back to business as normal. I'm gonna step out of the way here so Brad can really just show you guys, but right now you're taking a look at TSA and it's fairly empty. Like literally people are just coming in and out of the lines there. Literally just about an hour ago, right where I'm standing at right now, the line was just way past me right about now. We talked to an NFTA spokesperson, Kelly, her name is Kelly Khatib, about more updates along the way. She did tell us that, tell on your side, that they are going to continue sweeping with those dogs. I don't know, literally like 30 seconds ago before you just tossed to me here, there was an NFTA transit police officer going up and down the airport here with the dogs sniffing out for any explosive material. But once again, earlier, probably about 2 hours ago, around 3-4 o'clock today before now, we were outside doing that extensive clean sweep with those dogs sniffing for any explosive materials. They did wrap that back up. They was out there for about 2 hours, moved it with him here inside the airport. Once again, things are really calmed down a lot. Things is back to normal as possible. As we reported constantly over again, flights have not been delayed or have not been canceled. The airport is clearly still open and very operational right now. But as we learn a little bit more information along the way, Claudine, we will update you along the way.
All right, Keelan, thank you very much for that update from the airport. That is actually good news because there were people who missed their flights.
I bet.
Because they were trying to get to the airport and they could not get inside because they had that roadblock or that stop before you could even enter the property.
Right, and there was really no warning, right? You had no idea when you were heading out there today that there was any kind of delay quite like this. When I was driving in, there was quite a backup near the Peace Bridge, but let's check in right now with the NFTA's Lance Mellon. Yes, you're still there. How's everything looking now, Lance? Is it cleared up a bit?
Hey, thanks a lot, Mary Alice and Claudine. Yeah, a lot more normal. Kind of the afternoon we more so expected before kind of the chaos ensued. But right now, the Rainbow Bridge is the only border that's closed. Behind me is the middle of the Peace Bridge. This is the Canadian-bound view. That's Canada in the background. This was the first one to open, and it's really not looking too bad at all. Also, the exit off the 190 North, the exit number 9, which is Porter Avenue in the Peace Bridge. This was closed for a lot of the afternoon. It has been reopened as well. As the Peace Bridge opened, so did this exit. So really no problems getting onto, once again, the Peace Bridge from the U.S. side. The second bridge open was the Lewiston-Queenston, and we're really seeing minimal delays at both crossings right now. I think by this time, a lot of folks that were planning to go into or out of Canada have maybe adjusted course or maybe scheduled it for tomorrow, and just we're going to kind of wait and see when these borders were going to reopen, because considering it's the day before Thanksgiving, the lines really are not long at all, which is good news, I guess, if you're planning to cross the border. It might not be a bad time right now. I just wanted to show you real quick where Ron Plants was for a lot of the evening. This is the blockade right near the Rainbow Bridge, and it remains in place until further notice. So it's a good idea to avoid this area right now if you can. There might be a lot of vacationers in the area heading to Niagara Falls, just you know, on the Thanksgiving break, enjoying the area. But this is definitely an intersection that you want to stay away from for now. So we'll just be keeping an eye on that as the evening continues. Mary Alice and Claudine, but 2 border crossings open, which is always good news. We'll send it back to you.
Yes, it is. Good to hear that things are rolling along, that all the bridges except Rainbow are back open, and it seems like the roads are looking good too. So if you're heading out to grandmother's house, it looks like it's going to be a smooth ride.
And especially if you can take the Peace Bridge, because earlier today we saw that backup where you could not even go to exit 9 to get to the Peace Bridge. That was not happening. We had also heard from a couple of people who were across the border bringing family members back, and they were stuck. And I know one person had to go back to the assisted living facility. So hopefully they are now able to come over back into the United States at this particular time.
Yeah. I had a couple friends reach out too in the same way, and I wanted to ask you quickly, at the airport today, have you ever had that experience before where you were stopped and they actually wanted to, you know, have you turn your engine off?
Just one of those days. I happened to take a break. I was dropping somebody off at the airport, and then you pull up. I probably was like the 3rd car that they stopped when they started this, and as a result, they snipped the car, and everything was all good to go. So yeah, that's how it worked out, and I'm glad everything is going back to normal at the airport. We're going to head to a break real quick now, and we'll be right back on the 5:30.
Then it was a ball of fire like 30, 40 feet high. I've never seen anything like it.
This thing was up in the air. I know it sounds like I'm crazy, but the car was airborne.
And again, the FBI always treats any kind of explosion initially with the assumption that it was a terrorist event.
The Buffalo Police are working with other local law enforcement agencies, state and federal law enforcement agencies.
At this time, there is no indication of a terrorist attack.
Tragedy at the U.S.-Canada border today on the day before Thanksgiving. A fatal incident involving a massive ripple effect on our area.
We continue to follow breaking news tonight
with breaking news.
as an explosion on the Rainbow Bridge had Western New York on high alert. Good evening, I'm Mary Alice Demler.
And hello again, I'm Scott Levin. 2 on Your Side has crews out on the scene tonight working to learn as much as we can about this late-breaking situation today. Right now, our Andy Payton is joining us live. And Andy, what are you hearing right now?
Well, Scott and Mary Alice, we were just briefed about 30 minutes ago, and when we were, the governor stressing to us that this was not a terrorist-related incident that occurred behind us here. She is confirming that the 2 individuals that were inside the vehicle are dead. The governor telling us that this all started at about 11:27 a.m. this morning, and that it was a vehicle traveling at an incredibly high rate speed, crashed into the border protection booth, and that the booth and the car immediately exploded and went up in flames. The governor also said that there was a border agent inside the booth. They said that she did not sustain, or they did not sustain, any life-threatening injuries. They were taken to a hospital and they are in okay condition now. But the governor's saying that the video that she saw really was unlike anything that she's ever seen before. She said she will release this shortly, but here's what she had to say to this. Take a listen.
The car and the booth immediately exploded, burst into flames. I saw the video of an airborne vehicle that was absolutely surreal. You actually had to look at it and say, was this generated by AI? Because it was so surreal to see how high in the air this vehicle went, and then the crash and the explosion and the fire.
And said that at this time there was no motive or even reasoning on why this vehicle was traveling at such a high speed. Back out here live now, we're told that this investigation is obviously currently ongoing, and they're going to continue to provide updates for us as they learn more over the next couple of days. And of course, we're going to provide those updates for you as well tonight at 11. But for now, live and on your side in Niagara Falls, Andy Payton, Channel 2 News.
Andy, thank you. And now we want to bring in our Ron Plants, who has been out since noon today in the Falls gathering details.
That's right. Ron, what do you have for us at this hour?
Well, Scott and Mary Alice, just as police presence here with the Rainbow Bridge closed off with this approach from Niagara Street. You heard the governor, and Andy was talking about her description of what she saw actually in that video. Well, we actually spoke to some eyewitnesses here, including one individual called Ricky Wilson. He says he's a tour guide here in Niagara Falls, and he gave a really dramatic, vivid description of what he saw this morning. Here is what he had to say in regards to this situation.
So we were walking up the road and we seen this car coming down towards the border, and he was flying over 100 miles an hour. There was a car in front of him. He swerved out, went in front of the car, hit the fence, went flying up into the air. He hit, I think there was a elevation part. He went up into the air, and we just seen the fireball, and that's all we could see. It was just covered in smoke everywhere.
So the car was coming from the U.S. into Canada, towards Canada?
Yes, it was going towards Canada, yes. It was just a fireball and smoke everywhere. We heard a big bang. Yeah.
Real loud bang, and then,
yeah.
Then you saw this car and the explosion.
Yeah, and I said there's no way that guy's going to stop. There's no way he can stop. He's just going too fast.
You couldn't tell if it had what kind of license plates on it? Or
No,
anything?
no, we couldn't, no.
Well, how would you describe the car?
It looked like a Chrysler 300, but somebody told me it was a Bentley. But there's similar cars in that, so yeah.
Okay.
And he was swerving as he was going down this road here, fishtailing, because he was going so fast.
Were there any police cars following him?
No, I didn't see not one, no. And we waited, and we actually walked back to the border, and then we were there about maybe 10 minutes, and the police all started to come.
just wanted to clarify that that was actually the first eyewitness that we spoke to today, actually a man visiting here with his wife from Kitchener, Ontario. There was another gentleman named Ricky Wilson that we also spoke to, who spoke about the also seeing this vehicle. He said it was surreal as it just even kind of went airborne, and it was kind of inverted or turned as it slammed into that structure right near the entrance here and where those inspection booths are for the Rainbow Bridge here. Also, just we'll pass this along. Some people were also a bit stranded, if you will, this evening. We ran into 3 college students who are from France, and they're from New York City. They're on a road trip. They were visiting here in the Falls. Their car is actually stuck in a parking lot right near the Rainbow Bridge there, and they have some pretty dramatic video we'll be sharing with you this evening of what they saw and encountered as well. So again, that is the situation here. We're right at 3rd and Niagara in Niagara Falls. And again, the investigation, as everybody's saying, is continuing to make sure they know exactly what happened here. But as everybody is stressing, this was not believed in any way to be a terrorist attack at all. So we'll turn it back into you, into the studio right now.
All right, Ron Plant's reporting for us tonight. Ron, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Are we going to go to Dave or are we going to traffic now?
I think Dave.
Let's go to Dave. Hello, David. What can you tell us?
Hi there, Scott. We're here near the Peace Bridge, the border crossing between Fort Erie and Buffalo, which opened about a little over an hour ago after being closed most of the afternoon. As you can see, the traffic is beginning to flow here. Again, it's been open for an hour or so. Closed most of the afternoon after that incident on the Rainbow Bridge. Now, this couldn't have happened at a more inopportune time for a lot of folks, right? They may have been shopping. It was a busy travel day before Thanksgiving. The bridges were expected to be busy today, and then there was this interruption. We also understand that the Lewiston-Queenston Bridge has been cleared, but we're not sure if it's open yet. And the Rainbow Bridge itself, which is the only other border crossing open to everyone. Remember, the Whirlpool Bridge is just for those who have clearance passes. The Rainbow Bridge probably going to be stopped a while, but you can understand a lot of people's apprehension when after this incident occurred, they immediately closed the other border crossings and started sniffing people's cars with dogs at the airport. That led to a lot of speculation. But as we've heard and as we've been reporting, it appears to have been a terrible accident of some sort, and the Peace Bridge is now reopened. Reporting live from Buffalo, on your side, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
David, thank you. And we know that this is certainly impacting roadways all across the area. Right now, we have Traffic Tracker 2's Lance Mellon keeping a close eye on the roadways for us.
So, Lance, what are you seeing on your radar right now?
Hey, Mary Allison, Scott. So yeah, normally brake lights at the inspection plazas bring sighs of frustration and impatience, but today, really sighs of relief. It's just good that people are able to cross before the holidays. So behind me is the Peace Bridge getting into Canada, maybe a 5 to 10 minute delay, really not too bad at all. That was the first crossing to open. The Lewiston-Queenston opened shortly after. We're seeing very minimal delays here getting into Canada. So more of a sense of normalcy, at least at 2 border crossings. I think a lot of folks actually changed plans or maybe are planning to travel tomorrow because these wait times are very minimal the day before Thanksgiving. And just a quick look at the blockade still in place before the Rainbow Bridge. A good idea to avoid this area of downtown Niagara Falls for now, if you can, until further notice. Scott and Mary Alice, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, Lance, thanks very much. Our Rob Hackford is at the U.S. Attorney's Office in downtown Buffalo. They held a news conference just a short time ago. Rob?
Yeah, Scott and Mary Ellis, that briefing from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, as well as various other law enforcement, federal law enforcement agencies, was brief. And it really boiled down to one line that we heard from Trini Ross right at the beginning of it. It said at this time they believe this is not terrorism, that this was a crash, something else, and they are still investigating it. They do have new video that we got from Customs and Border Protection, a camera that they have located there of that vehicle going airborne, speeding first, going airborne. You'll see it at the top of your screen here if that video is playing. It crashes. There's a fire. There's other damage caused at that booth. There was a CBP officer that was injured. We asked what update was on that CBP officer. They've not been identified at that time, and there was limited information provided there. They also confirmed that 2 individuals were killed in this incident. We asked the FBI about how they were able to determine whether this was not terrorism, that this was just a crash, a car crash near the Rainbow Bridge. Take a listen to their response.
Yes, we can confirm it come from the U.S. side. We'll also say that we have a subject in mind. We're fully running him down to find out who he is. As the U.S. Attorney said right now, we have no indications of a threat of terrorism from it. The investigation continues. We're still doing notifications for family members, but we do have someone in mind for it, and we're working through it through the JTTF.
Yeah, the FBI added there that they were combing social media for the individuals they believe were involved. No one has been identified in this incident so far. There was also no existing derogatory information or other details that they were able to find on the individuals that they are looking into as this investigation really begins unfolding as they continue to look at this. But again, according to federal authorities, this is not terrorism. It was a crash at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, but they will continue to investigate, and they want people at home really to feel safe as they head into this Thanksgiving holiday. Reporting live outside FBI headquarters in Buffalo, Rob Hackford on your side, Channel 2 News.
All right, Rob, thanks very much. Obviously, law enforcement all on the same page as they all went about their separate investigations to try and figure out, probably based on the VIN number of what was left of the car after this crash, that it was someone that they do not suspect of any terrorism.
Exactly. And now Channel 2's Keelan Berrien is live at the Buffalo Niagara Airport with an update.
Yeah, Scott and Mary Alice, you know, things are just kind of basically back to business as normal. Just behind me here is the TSA pre-check, TSA check line, I want to say rather, and it's very clear right now. We have a few travelers that is in the line waiting to get through those gates, but they will be there in no time. And like we said before, this could not happen on any worse day than before. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Buffalo Niagara International Airport is already seeing a lot of its travelers leaving and coming and going for the Thanksgiving holiday. But we also spoke with the NFTA spokesperson, Kelly Khatib, and she says the sweep for the explosive materials will continue tonight and throughout the weekend. About 2 hours ago, around 3-4 o'clock today, we were just outside showing you all how NFTA was doing those thorough, clean sweeps with their bomb-sniffing dogs. But it moved inside to here where we at now inside the airport. But here, you can listen to Kelly and hear what she has to say for yourself.
Whenever we have something of that nature, when it comes to something that's happening at the border, especially seeing as things unfolded, when you have a car exploding and you're still trying to get facts and you're still trying to get everything, we will immediately, just in extreme precaution, make sure we put all those security measures in place, because we have, you know, hundreds of thousands of people who travel for here, and their safety is our #1 priority.
Right, so that was just Kelly Khatib, spokesperson for NFTA that you just heard. Once again, this is a federal building, so you know they have to take extreme precaution for everything that's going on around here. But once again, that TSA line is clear right now. We do have a couple travelers entering the line right now, but like I said, they will go through those things very quickly. But it is still encouraged to still arrive to your flight 3 to 3.5 hours before. That's what Kelly Khatib has told us. But if and when we learn any more information along the way, we will update you. Scott and Mary Alice, we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Keelan, thank you very much. We're going to show everyone a live look right now at the Rainbow Bridge where this terribly tragic accident happened today. Obviously, it's closed right now as the investigation and the evidence gathering continues. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more information on Channel 2 News at 6. Stay with us. We are continuing to follow breaking news of a tragic accident and explosion that happened on the Rainbow Bridge at about 11:30 this morning.
Before we go to Nate Benson, we do have some breaking news right now. I have two sources. Mary Alice has a source also that has confirmed to us that it is a local husband and wife that were in a Bentley vehicle. They live on Grand Island, local business owners as well. We're not exactly sure, of course, of what the cause was, but they speculate that it may have been a medical emergency. So once again, I have two sources. Mary Alice has a source as well, that it was a local business owner and his wife driving in their Bentley, going up to Toronto for a concert, and possibly a medical emergency occurred.
And that information seems to jibe with the information that we've gotten officially from Governor Kathy Hochul and also from the U.S. Attorney's Office, that it was a local person behind the wheel of the car who they had done some preliminary look at their background, that they did not suspect terrorism. So the fact that we've been notified by some of their family members and close associates as to their identity, they are still notifying, of course, next of kin.
Right,
so we won't be sharing with you their names or any other identifying information.
Interesting, though, in one of the witness interviews that Ron Plants did, the gentleman said when they asked him what type of vehicle it was, he thought it was a Chrysler 300 or perhaps a Bentley.
And he had it right.
Yeah, unfortunately, they did have it right. Yeah. So that is some late breaking news right now, and our thoughts are to the family and their friends out there tonight.
Unquestionably. Well, our own Nate Benson has been in our newsroom all afternoon gathering more information. Nate, what can you share with us now?
Yeah, obviously, Scott and Mary Alice, that news you just shared with the viewers, very tragic indeed. And, you know, Governor Hochul said just about an hour ago during that press conference, the whole world is waiting to find out what happened. And really, that was the case. This was a major point of conversation on social media this afternoon. Rainbow Bridge was trending. Terror attack was trending because of some of the things that were being said by larger media organizations. And really, now that we have a better understanding that this was just a very unfortunate incident at the Peace Bridge, you know, no sign of a terrorist attack, of course, is what Governor Hochul said earlier. The two people in the vehicle did die at the scene. A Custom and Border Patrol agent was injured at the scene but was hospitalized briefly, then released. And the governor saying that booth actually protected that Border Patrol agent from maybe more serious injuries at the time of this incident. And Governor Hochul being very clear that this is still a very fluid and ongoing investigation. But Scott and Mary Alice, as you just mentioned a moment ago, new information is still coming to light. But here's what Governor Hochul had to say just about an hour ago.
This is an international border, and we've always felt the vulnerability there. But this was you know, I won't call it an accident. It has not been determined to be an accident. You don't know whether the driver was intentional in how they drove. We do not know that. All I know is there was a horrific accident. Well, I won't call it an accident. A horrific incident, a crash, an explosion, loss of life. But at this time, no known terrorist connection.
And obviously, there is still a very fluid investigation ongoing right now. We're going to have more later on tonight at 11, but of course, right now we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, so when we come out of this, I'm going to do a main weather and that's it. Okay, love.
It has been a extraordinary news day, but we know that now that we can all take a breath and feel safe in our home, you're venturing out on the roads. Looks like it's not going to be as treacherous as we first thought.
For good. Thank you, right?
Absolutely. Or if you're running tomorrow on the
Right.
roads, I think the temperature is going to be just fine. Take a look at what we're doing. We had a high today, 48. I think tomorrow we'll have highs roughly about 46. Currently, we're at 40 degrees and absolutely no problems. The only little fly in the ointment for tomorrow is in the afternoon. Hold on to the pie as you're heading over to Grandma's house because the winds are going to kick up tomorrow. Nothing serious though. I think about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have winds gusting maybe 30, 35 miles an hour, and temperature readings will be roughly in about the mid 40s. No rain to report. We finally got rid of those last little few showers, and right now we have cloudy skies over us. So take an overall view. This is where we are. Yeah, a little bit messy up throughout Maine. They're going to have that rain snow mix. We have a rather dry front which will kind of move through the area tonight. Tomorrow we'll start with, we'll call it a sun cloud mix. There'll be some areas that will see more cloud cover than others. So some areas may bask in the sun tomorrow afternoon. Other areas are going to see a little bit more in the way of high cloud cover. By about 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, I do think most areas will see more in the way of cloud cover, and then we're going to have a drier front making its way through. As it approaches, it's going to help increase the winds. So I think by tomorrow morning, the winds are not going to be an issue. But as we progress into the afternoon, you're going to see the winds start to increase a bit with sustained winds up near about 20 miles an hour. And then as we get into wind gusts, as I said, they'll be coming up to about 30, 35 miles an hour by the time we get into the afternoon. That'll be the only issue. For the runners, should not be a problem. I think the morning will be calm enough. We'll have winds, I would think, maybe gusts up to about 20, 25 miles an hour, which shouldn't be all that bad. Here we go over the next 24 hours and what we can expect. Tomorrow morning, we're going to wake up, I would think, to a maybe we'll call it a cloud sun mix. Some areas will see a little bit more in the way of sunshine than others. I'm looking for this to be more higher clouds. In the afternoon, as you can see, some areas will see a little bit more in the way of cloud cover than others. And then as we get into the afternoon, it will become mostly cloudy, but I think will be dry. We're going to have that dry front make its way through. Could bring in a few little isolated snow showers for Friday. Nothing to write home about. Sunday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday look pretty good, but later on Sunday we'll get into a few little isolated showers with some cooler air that'll bring us a rain-snow mix for Monday. So all in all, I think it looks great. Tomorrow, clouds, sun, a little breezy in the afternoon. The winds will be light in the morning, maybe an isolated sprinkle throughout the interior section. Winds will be out of the west and then southwest, 15 to 25 with some gusts up to about 35 miles an hour. Here's a peek at the 7 days ahead. Beautiful for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when a lot of people will be heading home. Could run into some showers late in the afternoon. Then we'll have a rain-snow mix for Monday and also Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to tap into some cooler air with a few flurries throughout Buffalo and also into the southern tier. Back over to you guys.
All right, thank you, Maria. Appreciate that. So it was a long afternoon here, but thank goodness any of that,
Fear, anxiety
can definitely be put to bed.
And sadly, a tragic loss of life of 2 Western New Yorkers. We don't know the exact cause, whether it was a mechanical failure or perhaps a health event, but we will effort to make contact with that family and tell you more about their story. But yeoman's work by our law enforcement in Western New York today.
They sure did. They did a great job. And thank you for joining us for Channel 2 News at 6. NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt is up next.
And we hope to see you right back here. We'll have more details and the full story of today's events coming up on Channel 2 News tonight at 11. Have a good night.